Now the tailback play fake wide open. Brock Bowers the touchdown.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Harris finds his man and struck first. After the defense got them the football, it's Joshua Cephas who finds the punctuation on the opening drive.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Play fake for Rising on the boot. Throwing complete inside the 10 and diving for the end zone. It's a touchdown. Thomas Yasmin.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
The penalty negates the interception. Purdue stays on the field. O'Connell floats it. It's caught! Touchdown, Charlie Jones!
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
2nd and 3, no problem for the Red Raiders. Get loose, Sir Roderick Thompson. Boom!
Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
And here we go again on this Thursday afternoon. Craig is out yet one more day, just been under the weather a little bit. Hopefully, we said this yesterday, back today, but one more day to kind of get through a little bit, and he's got the creeping crud. He'll be fine. I spoke with him a minute ago on my way to the studio. So it's Paul Catalina and David Smoak. Now, I know I'm going to say this up front, that Craig is known as the Dragon. Am I right, Paul?
Yes.
Truth serum, just says what he thinks. What he says is what he believes. I may be the Dragon today when it comes to an insurance issue.
Oh, I just got you free legal advice on that.
You did? Okay,
yes.
Good. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it on the air because it's bore the hell out of you, but I'm going to lose my mind when it comes to trying to talk with somebody who can understand me from a call service or whatever you call it. And then while I'm doing some due diligence on payments, I find out they've been hitting my credit card even though allegedly a policy is no longer in existence. That's enough. I'll let the attorney take over.
Yeah, no. If you've ever read the book or seen the movie The Rainmaker, Smokey has that situation going on right now, although not nearly as tragic as it was in the book or the movie, but it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it is, except I could, if I'm not careful, could be a lead story tonight somewhere. From Paula, get well, Craig. From Clint Moses, he is the Craig Smoak Dragon fan. Craig, no, he does not have Mikey does not have COVID. Paula, get well, Craig. Clint Moses, get well soon, the Dragon. So all of that. I just saw this from Sir blah, 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 and I got something on the University of California Regents and stuff like that. We had some snow yesterday. Buffalo is supposed to get walloped on the weekend. I actually read that story. The Bills are playing Cleveland, of all the two places to have something like that, and it is supposed to snow like 6 feet in the Buffalo area.
Yeah, so they're going to have to be constantly clearing out snow pretty much the entire game.
The game's they've moved the game to Detroit now.
Oh, they have?
Oh, they have?
They're going to play in Detroit because Buffalo plays the Lions on Thanksgiving. So essentially, they're going to stay in Detroit, play the Browns on Sunday, and then turn around and play the Lions on
well, that's kind of an advantage for Buffalo, although they lose the home field advantage of Buffalo.
They don't lose the home field advantage. The Lions fans will show up and they'll be like, "Hey, we love the Bills.
They don't
we want to feel something good."
Oh, okay.
We'll do anything.
Okay,
We'll do anything to feel something good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I get what you're saying now. But now, and I was talking to Jennifer on a couple of text messages earlier about she has Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. And I mentioned, hey, don't start Josh Allen this week. Well, now that they're going to play in the Dome, maybe you do. Although Joe Burrow is a pretty damn good option as well. Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, will join us at 4. Mickey Spagnola on the Cowboys in NFL 425. They play Thursday. No Craig's off the radar. Former Baylor running back Abram Smith, Paul mentioned this yesterday, was picked number 1 overall by the XFL in the draft by the Washington Defenders.
The DC Defenders.
The DC Defenders.
They've been very clear on this.
He's going to join us at 5.
By the way, they've been very clear on this name for the specific reason that the other Washington professional football team has moved out of DC.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to at least claim a little bit of that territory.
Yeah, and then Washington Commanders are trying to get back into D.C., and they were there and had an incredible home stadium or home field advantage. Frank Harris, how about that? He's one of the best quarterbacks in America from UTSA. Believe it or not, he's been playing there a long time. He has another year left of eligibility if he wants to come back. He's a very highly coveted young man. And UTSA 8-2, they've gotten on a roll after the loss to Texas earlier this year. And then Paul has his top 5. We have our Sports tonight at 10:30 on the CW channel is also something. Now we're going to, by the way, Big 12 basketball 2 nights ago, KU beat Duke. Last night, Texas, really just way too much. I mean, no chance for Gonzaga. Texas with a great win against Gonzaga, and they dominated that game. They were more athletic, they were better, and they scored nearly 100 points as they beat Gonzaga. Gonzaga plays Baylor in, a couple of weeks or so, Baylor, Virginia, in Vegas on Friday.
Yeah, in South Dakota. They played at that cool little venue that they have there in South Dakota. But Tyrese Hunter scored 27 or 28 last night.
It's an incredible pickup for them in the offseason.
That is almost where, especially if you're an Iowa State fan, you wish, look, if the kid wants to transfer, that's fine. But don't let him transfer in conference. It's just painful knowing that he's going to be there. He's a year better. He's on a rival school in your conference, and they were already good. They did, and the thing is, Texas was already good, but they didn't have a guy like that because there's not many guys like that.
He was, they've got Carr back, and he can be hit and miss at times, but also obviously very experienced.
Yeah, Tyrese Hunter's that dude.
Tyrese Hunter is the dude, and then Dylan Mitchell was great for them, among others, but it was a hell of a win for Texas as they beat up at Gonzaga last night in Austin. And then Brock Cunningham, who's kind of like everybody hates you if you're not a UT fan. He's kind of like always in messed up and collisions and all that. He, in fact, Paxton, I love his effort. All right, now, the University of California Regents, remember all that when USC and UCLA, the story popped about them leaving for the Big Ten. And then there was the repercussions and all this, and then there was okay, wait a minute, this is not good. And I understand it because Baylor and Iowa State and all the rest, PCU and the rest of the Big 12 and Tech and all the others had to go through, wait a minute, this is not good. They recovered, they added, and they also already have their new TV deal. It still has not been officially announced yet, by the way. But UCLA was possibly the only hitch, if at all, in anything happening with USC and UCLA to the Big Ten. Because UCLA is a part of a system. Just like when Texas decided to leave, or even A&M back in 2000 and whatever it was, you had the Texas system. Well, wait a minute. Nobody's ever been stopped from doing that I know of. Maybe there's one school I haven't thought about. So the UC Regents, Paul, met today. Yeah, you were on the phone with Tony, but I'm going to get into, we'll talk about your conversation with Tony first. Then we're going to get into four graphics, maybe 5, about what the California Regents' latest report said that was brought up today during the meeting.
Yeah, so in the meeting, the biggest thing to take away, and just the thumbnail sketch of it is, nobody stood up and said, we have to stop this now. We have to take away the chancellor's authority. Nobody said that. Everything was about, planning for the inevitable exit, spending more money on mental health and athlete welfare and things like that. The things that you need to talk about. So any kind of talk that the California university system was at all going to stop this was bravado or whatever, and we've seen it's not worked anywhere. To do this would take a large overtaking. The biggest thing is that I think, and this is just my opinion, just from the outside looking in, I think there were people, at least factions inside, that didn't want it to happen because they thought that Cal would care more than they did. And they really don't, that everything will work itself out kind of a thing. They kind of see that this is how college athletics works. And there was no justification for keeping them there together that would make financial sense, especially given UCLA's really, really dire financial situation that they have, right?
Yep.
So the reason that UCLA would have been, even without USC, if the Big Ten had just sent out invitations and said the first one to call us back gets in, they probably would have just had to because of their accounting issues that they've had in the past.
All right, so Tony had sent this to us a couple of days ago. This is the UC Region's latest. Nothing happened today, right?
Nothing
okay.
that was earth-shattering.
All right, so that's the last one. There's 4 graphics. One, this is from the UC Region's report, and it's also, by the way, in a PDF. Cost. In-depth calculations show that UCLA will only incur $10 million in additional cost for big travel and program upgrades. Well, they're getting, 29, 30, whatever, 30 million a year. They're going to get 70, 75 million a year plus more, plus once they expand the college football playoffs. So that's the first one. That was one.
And the reason this is important is that one of the arguments made, particularly by George Kliavkoff, was that, the money it'll be a push at best because they'll be spending $50 million a year getting everybody all over the place.
Okay.
But he didn't have any numbers to back that up. I think they were just kind of saying
it was no different than what Bob Bowlesby and others were trying to say in Austin about Texas leaving. And there was a chunk that the conference would lose, but they eventually got at least that back and more. Not that they wouldn't have gotten more had Texas and OU remained in the conference. Of course they would have. Number 2, athlete support. 93% of surveyed athletes, and again, I don't know if that was 10% of them or 100% of them, say it's important to be in the same conference as USC. This is UCLA athletes. Student athletes at UCLA. 93% said they want to remain in the same conference. It's important to remain in the same conference as USC. But only 24% say it's important to stay in the conference with Cal Berkeley.
Yeah, LA is more important than San Francisco, right? It's still a big market, but
LA, but
for these athletes,
USC's not a part of the UC system.
Yeah.
But Cal Berkeley is, and that's according to the survey. Again, this is online on a PDF file. Number 3, I put 2. Travel costs. You hear about this, right? And it's probably a concern. Most UCLA sports will have minimal impact and minimal travel changes. Only a few sports like basketball, baseball, volleyball face significant additional travel. Many UCLA sports aren't in the Big Ten, and many Big Ten sports have local travel, regular seasons, and then one conference tournament, much like what the Pac does.
Yeah, so UCLA has a ton of sports. They're big on their Olympics and all that, but there is, baseball's going to have to go, into the Big Ten and deal with that. Although I'm sure the Big Ten's thrilled about coming to California, especially since they can come and play a couple schools on a trip and get more games in early in the season in the cold weather places. I don't think it's, again, you're talking about a few sports, but they're not going to be sending tennis off to the Big Ten necessarily to do all those things. Some of those sports compete in different conferences.
Number 4, better for the UC system. Losses to Cal are less than the gains by UCLA. Much less, contradicting Pac-12 claims, whether that's George Kliavkoff or someone else. Now, this is from Tony Altimore, who has been a part of our show. Tony's a Pac-12 guy. He's a USC guy. This was stuff that he sent. He sent a PDF link as well. If you want it, I can send it to you for you to dig around. I'm probably 10,000 pages long. And then this graphic as well. UCLA athletes believe they need to be in USC's conference. Now, this is a graphic. I love graphics. And this is what we showed you earlier. Which other schools is it important or very important for UCLA to stay together in the same conference? And there's the graph. There's obviously a massive difference between 93% USC and 24% Cal.
Yeah. And the athletes would rather play. I mean, that's a bigger rivalry to them than Cal. And the thing about Cal sports right now is especially football, which is what is driving this move. We talked about it a couple of times. It just feels like college football in the Bay Area is really blah right now. And there's not a lot of excitement for it. And so USC is having their best season in a very long time this year and is in contention for the conference title for the first time in a very long time. The last time they won it was in 1998. So when you have this move of you going together, it's going to create excitement and it's going to make you look introspectively at, okay, what are the benefits of this to that, or who I'd rather be with. If you tell hey, I'd rather play USC where it's a big rivalry, it's in town, everybody's going to be able to go no matter who's playing, or we're going to be 7 hours away playing against Cal. Yeah, I mean, no matter what it is, if you are a non-revenue sport athlete, say you are a volleyball player, right? And USC is coming in to play you at Pauley Pavilion for volleyball. There's a good chance that that's going to be the best game that you have as far as attendance. That's not a good chance. That's the best game you're going to have attended all year. When Cal comes in, might get a couple people relatively, but it's not going to be like that. That's the game you can call your friends across town and be like, hey, do you want to come and watch us? There's USC. So, yeah, of course it's more important to be with USC than it is to be with Cal. They're right there.
Yeah, and from some of the responses, by the way, Sir blah, 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 the $10 million will be more than covered by the extra TV revenue, talking about any offset of UCLA. That's exactly right. Roger, not surprised at all. Regions couldn't stop UCLA, but could have, in fact, requested TV money. Never an issue with UCLA's debt. Provo Cougar fan. UCLA's men's volleyball is in a super conference with Brigham Young, Hawaii, Pepperdine, and other top teams. From Baal Guestjar, water polo, men's volleyball, etc., aren't in the pack. He's right, and will remain in their current conferences. Roger Dodger, great opportunity for UCLA to join the Big Ten in some sports and make a lot more money. The UC Regents understand that.
Yeah, and look, when you read the first, especially, and I'll go back and read this next one, when you read the first meeting they had, there were a lot of people involved in that who clearly are not sports people. I mean, then that's fine. They weren't put on that board to make decisions for athletic departments. They're making decisions for whole university systems, and then they rely on the people who are athletically in charge to tell them what's the best deal. And really, they care about two things: money and money. No,
yeah.
But money and how is it really going to work? Is it going to cause problems even with this money? And most of the time, money is going to supersede all of that. So I also think that there's going to be a lot more travel. There's no doubt about that when it comes to all the sports. But I think that we're in an era where I don't think that people think about that the same way anymore.
No, I think it's different. Now, also, just to clarify, Nerf, UCLA's last conference title was 1998.
Yes.
That was the point about that. Roger Dodger says 2017
in football.
No, their last conference title was in 1998.
Yeah.
They were in division championships 2011 and also in 12. They won the South in those 2 years, but then lost in the championship
I think
game.
Roger Dodger might have been saying USC's last conference.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he's fighting on all the way. So
right, the fight on. Now, so that's that. Now, this story came down. This was yesterday afternoon. I know we've seen kind of hints at this before. College athletes advocating for revenue sharing in a new model. I don't know if you saw this, Paul. Michigan's Hunter Dickinson Pittsburgh's Jamarius Burton among a group of athletes who will be writing the letter S on their hands during games this season to draw attention to their attempt to advocate for a new business model in college sports. The S, according to the players, stands for share.
This is inevitable. They're going to have to work something out. And they'd be wise to work something out before there's a union, although, there's a train of thought that would lead you to believe that maybe having a union would make it work out kind of automatically. And it's going to happen. I mean, there are the reason that this has gotten to this point where it's kind of the extremes on both sides and the NCAA is caught flat-footed is that I don't know if the NCAA thought that when the first coach got paid $5 million that no one would go like, hey, wait a minute. How do you have $5 million? What about the players? Because you can't do one without the other.
No. When all that started happening, the $1 million, the $2 million, the $5 million, college football was still very much almost amateur. It was still very much.
Yeah, but eventually, you're going to hear that. And so you have the little squeaks. And then you have the guy like Chris Webber. I mean, back in 1989, 1990, the Fab Five is walking around looking at jerseys going, why can't I make money off that? So the tide was building for a long time before they did anything about it. And had they just looked and said, maybe the way that we view college athletics before and the way that it is now, especially when you read in the media, oh, hey, they just got a $20 million a year TV deal per school. And then it was a $50 million a year per school. And so you start wondering, man, there's a lot of money here, but we keep being told that we can't have any. So they were just slow to progress. So it would be wise of them for once to get out in front of this. Otherwise, you're going to have contentious union battles all the time.
So what do the players give up?
I'm not following.
If they become part of revenue sharing, what are they going to have to do in return?
Well, there's probably going to have to be contracts.
Right.
Legit contracts.
So even though that sounds probably like an incredible idea, there may be some things they need to be careful of.
I would think
they might jump right into wait a minute, right now we get NIL, and I don't know if any of us even have claimed that yet. We're going to have to be contract and this and this and this and this.
I think what would be affected would be the transfer portal. Mostly because if I'm going to pay you and I'm going to do this, are you going to are you going to have 1, 2, and 3, 4 year contracts? Is everything going to be a 1 year renewable contract? How is it going to be that the other thing they might be giving up is, so if you want revenue sharing is going to be done conference to conference probably, right? Because everybody's revenue is clearly different when it comes to TV. So what revenue are you sharing? It's not just give them some of the money, which is, again, why sometimes if you just give people a little bit of money way back when, they won't notice and you just kind of give it later. Kind of like a boss who gives everybody raises every year. If you give them a little bit of raise every year, they probably won't come in the office and be like, darn it, Steve, I've been here for 10 years. I need this. So there's a lot of complex issues. Yeah, they're going to have to probably give something up.
National College Players Association, an advocacy group that has tried to challenge college sports through legislation, legal action, public pressure during the past few tumultuous years. This is part of an article by Dan Murphy on ESPN. Their campaign is being organized by that particular group. So there's that. The ACC will honor Virginia and the shooting victims with helmet decals. It's a great idea. Special helmet decals designed by the conference office. A moment of silence will be observed at all ACC football games this weekend. Each home team will also have field signage with UVA Strong, a graphic produced by the league office. UVA Strong will also be on the video boards, digital, social media graphics. That's the least we can do or they could do, and obviously they will do that.
By the way, there is a fantastic story on The Athletic about Tony Elliott. He had a tragedy when he was 9 years old and lost family members, and talks about him. Matt Fortuna wrote it. It just posted an hour ago. I would suggest anybody who has an athletic subscription can go and read it. It's really he's been through a lot in his life. Tony Elliott has really a lot, and it's unfortunate that he has to be in this position, or anybody does, but he is someone maybe uniquely skilled to deal with what's going on.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably been going back to try to remember how things happened when, like you said, when he went through it himself. So that's some of what was going on today. Also, the Outlet Trophy semifinalists were released. You're seeing a lot of these awards, Nagurski, et cetera, being released. This actually came down maybe towards, this is yesterday evening in my email, and the Nagurski finalist, my God, I just lost the page. How about that, huh? There we go. That's great. I thought I had it right here. Let me look again.
All these trees had to die, and you weren't even organized.
Here we are. These trees were going to die anyway. Jalen Carter missed a lot of games.
Yeah.
Steve Avila, the offensive lineman, the guard, 6'4", 330, will be in Waco on Saturday for that game between Baylor and top number 4 ranked TCU. Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle at Ohio State. John Michael Schmitz of Minnesota, a center. And then also Peter Skoronsky. I've seen his name a lot on the midseason All-American teams, preseason Northwestern. And Olusegun Olawarami of Michigan. Also, he is a center, and I think he was a transfer to Michigan and has been a part of that powerful running game with the Wolverines.
Yeah, Jalen Carter should be on the list because when he plays in the game, he affects it more than anybody.
Yep.
I think if he had played the whole season, he might have been my defensive darling for the Heisman this year because he affects the game so much. Just like Jordan Davis, his former teammate, did last year. By the way, did you see what the Eagles are doing?
No.
They're like signing every gigantic man on the defense. So they're Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh in the last 2 days to go around while Jordan Davis is hurt and recovering.
Smart.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of doing what the Rams did last year. Mm-hmm. They're going for it. Why not? They're 8-1. They have a lead in what is the best division right now in all of football based on the records of each team. So it's 3:26, and again, the chat room's going. Let me see if there's anything on the chat, the text line whatsoever today. Damn, Sir Blah, Blah, Blah is a classic screen name. Why didn't I think of that? From Joel, Space Coast Night. You're right. I mean, he kind of took that away from everybody as well. Eric, I feel for Virginia. Horrible deal, not overlooking how painful it is. That said, they canceled their game this weekend, but that they kept the basketball game with Baylor tomorrow night. How will the tragedy affect their players for that game, Eric, in Lubbock?
Yeah, that's interesting to think about. I think that for some of the teams, it's got to be cathartic to get out there and play.
I would think so. Yeah.
For the football team, and those are people they directly are with every day, and they're brothers on the team. I can just totally get it, especially at this point in the year, and I know it's the home, like the way it was going to be at home, and we'll see about the Virginia Tech rivalry game next week. I had the privilege, I'll tell you, it was one of the greatest things I've ever gotten to do in my life. And this wasn't athletes, but it was students, to go to the bonfire game when the bonfire collapsed at A&M. Mm-hmm. And it was, I'll tell you, Drew Brees was sitting 3 rows behind me. He was a senior at Purdue that year, and his dad was an Aggie. And so he was sitting 3 rows behind me. I remember thinking about that. And it was a fantastic game. Texas was the better team that year for sure. A&M came and won the game at home, but the atmosphere of it was really it was cathartic for the university. But everywhere's different, and that was a long time ago. But I still remember that, and I hope they do get to play Virginia and Virginia Tech next week because I do think that would be healing for the team, for the university, and all that. I know it's a road game, but even still, I think that there's such an outpouring of support for the team, for Virginia within the ACC and within the country that I think that would be a great thing if they can do it. If they have
if they feel like they want to play
to do it, then I hope
they want to
do.
play the game, and some players don't, then give them an opportunity. To not. Mike Games is telling us on the chat room. I looked it up. I didn't see anything, Mike, that Youngstown State is going to apply for membership to the MAC. Well, yesterday when we had Casey Keeler on from Sam Houston State, you look at the team, James Madison, Appalachian State, Sam Houston State. Who was the other one I'm missing?
North Dakota State.
North Dakota State.
He said they were going to apply. He said they were going to apply.
Yeah, he kind of gave us some news that they were going to apply as well.
Yeah, and what he was saying was, in order to grow, these higher end FCS schools have to leave the FCS and to kind of survive and change things. And one of the things we talked about him a little bit with him, but we had a guest right after. We didn't get to dive into. He even said that there's a belief that eventually the group of 5 will have their own playoff again, which would make a lot of sense, because I do think that there'll be a time when they probably get tired of being the 12th team in, even though they get one, and that they're, what if there's 3 years where there's an 11-1 in Tulane and a 12-1 Liberty, and like you're kind of splitting hairs. You're like, this one. Then the other 2 are just going to be like, well, why don't we just do this on our own? So, plus with some of the other schools, like a San Diego State might leave the group of 5. You'll have this kind of balancing out of who needs to be where, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it was cool. And I probably should have popped that up with what Casey Keeler said. I haven't seen that report that there might be an FCS, not FCS, but a group of 5 national championship, which is a possibility, even though they might get a spot now or will get a spot when the expansion occurs. Marcus Hall, why do they have to give up anything?
Well, that's how contracts work.
You can't just get something for free and not in some way have to abide by something that right now you don't. I'm my biggest concern is we're going to have a story here in the next year or two with the NIL where some former player got $80,000, $800,000, and they didn't report it. They didn't file it correctly. They didn't file it all. They didn't report it. Something's going to happen. And we're going to feel sorry for them. When you just can't get $500,000 for free. My point of it is you're going to probably see some give and take on the possibility you end up being under contract. Well, are you under contract with a letter of intent?
Kinda, yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
But if you end up getting paid, then also as who was it that said this? A former coach, I believe, mentioned this. If you're going to get paid, then you also can be cut.
Well, and they can now anyway. But I mean, you could. But it's different. That's how. If they're going to unionize, again, unionizing means that you're going to realize that you're probably going to, especially in this particular situation, where all of a sudden the tide is on your side of everything.
Yes,
everything's going. But to make sure that it stays mostly how it is, you're going to have to get together and negotiate some things out. Then you know that because of contracts, you're going to have to give something up. The NFL Players Association, I'll give you the example. There's a lot of division in the NFL Players Union. There's more and more growing sentiment that there's a lot of players that feel that they've given too much away back to the owners. And you remember how contentious that last one was.
NFL, when it comes to unions, has never been as strong as the Major League Baseball Players Union.
Yeah.
Am I right?
No, it hasn't. Or the NBA players. Part of the reason the NFL is as big as it is they have the best contracts of anybody, right? They're not guaranteed in a lot of situations.
That's changed.
Yeah, it's changed. But
you see a lot of these contracts now where it used to be no one was ever guaranteed. Now we're seeing it's more prevalent and it's more the case than the exception that players are now getting guaranteed deals.
But in the NBA and Major League Baseball,
they're all guaranteed.
If you walk in and sign a 10-year deal and they cut you after 2 of it, they still owe you 8 years worth of that money. So it's not that way in the NFL. Now they owe you the guaranteed money and they have cap penalties and all that, but ultimately very few NFL players ever see the full value of the contract that they sign.
Right.
And that's how the NFL keeps working. And there are things that the NFL Players Association probably regrets giving back to them because of concessions they made. Okay, we're going to have less practices a week. Okay, but guess what? Now we're going to have another game. I know you guys don't want that, but you had less practices. We're going to have one more game. And, we want less preseason games. Okay, yeah, but there's going to be another playoff game too. So all of that give and take, that's what's going to happen when it comes down to this, because that's how unions versus the man works.
Marcus Hall. Who said it's free? Aren't they playing for the university?
Well, it's not free. I mean, they get their scholarship. They've got all the opportunity for NIL and all that. But there's going to be that's just how it works. Part of me
just how it works is not always working anymore. But it's not always the way it works anymore.
No, but I'll say this. Part of me thinks that
it used to be they got nothing.
Yeah, they got nothing. Now they can get NIL. There's going to be something that the universities are going to take back or have control over because.
Well, if that's the case, as somebody said, if you want to go ahead and do that, don't you start trading players like Alabama trades their backup left tackle to Florida who needs an offensive lineman because he's hurt? I'm just joking. But who knows?
I mean, who knows? Who knows where it goes?
You wouldn't trade within the conference anyway.
Sometimes though, maybe for the athletes, it might be better to keep the Wild West going as long as you can.
Right now, they kind of got it, and after years of almost like being what would be college athletics, the Kremlin, it's now they really have the transfer portal.
But I do think the transfer portal would change because if I'm a university and I'm recruiting you to come here and I'm going to guarantee you money and a salary and all this, then at that point, I want some time.
Justin R., send that backup Alabama player down to USF. I love it.
Yeah. So, that's just what it's going to be. So you want some guarantees or you're not going to the transfer portal or we're going to work the transfer portal is still there, but it works this way now.
The baseball, again, as Roger said, an incredibly strong union. Provo Cougar fan, incredibly professional sports unions are really small, unique professional associations. But no question, the NFL used to not have guaranteed deals. Now you see a lot of them. Baseball and the NBA, didn't matter. You sign, for example, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is in the news again because the teammates are frustrated with him. He doesn't have to play. That doesn't mean they can't fine him or there can't be something that comes back out of it. But you can sign a 5-year, $120 million deal and you hurt yourself, you're guaranteed that. In football, that wasn't always the case, that it just wasn't. And now that's even starting to change slightly. A lot of times, Troy Aikman had his contract renegotiated so many different times. He got a signing bonus for $8 or $10 million. Back in the day, it would have been maybe $4 or $5 million, and they would just kick his contract further down the curb to help alleviate the cap space at that moment. But they were giving him $1 or $2 or $3 million signing bonuses, and he knew he was never going to see the end of that contract as far as the contract 5, 6, 8 years down the road. 3:36 is the time. All right, when we come back, there's a couple of the notes to get to. I was told earlier this week, I believe, was it not, Garrett, when somebody asked, what is the relationship between Pat McAfee, who is now a freaking media mega mogul star, and West Virginia? What happened there? That story next on 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com online, no matter where you are. If you have a Marco's Pizza that can deliver anywhere around the area, or you can go and pick up the pizza, Marcos.com has specials and different codes. Pep Mag for Pepperoni Magnifico. It's a pizza that's loaded up every single space of that pizza on that pie. It is a pepperoni somewhere. Also, they've got 3-topping pizza. They've got many more of the specials if you want. You can call them. They deliver if you want. If there's a Marcos locally, again, in Waco, in the Waco, Central Texas, McLennan County area, there are 5 in Waco alone. In Belmead, in Woodway, Hewitt, Robinson, and China Spring. And we've had Marcos, of course, Bob Mock, the owner, a sponsor of this show, has delivered to us here. And they've delivered to us when we were at Midway during the high school football season every once in a while. Marcos Pizza with all sorts of specials, maybe one near you. And if so, you go to Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
This month, Allen Samuelson Waco is having the Black Friday sales event. You can save big on the new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab with total values up to $4,250 with 2.9% for 72 months. That's right, plus an extra $500 bonus cash to first responders and no payments until January 2023. Shop an award-winning dealership with award-winning product. Allen Samuelson Waco, the place to shop Ram trucks.
Come by, let's be friends.
It takes time to reach goals, It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties or time with the family, with various specials available while supplies last in store or ordering by phone, including 8 to 10 pound half spiral hams at $4.15 a pound, 12-pound pit hams at $4.35 a pound, 8 to 22 pound bone-in hams for $3.40 a pound, 14 to 16 pound whole raw turkeys at $2.85 a pound, and $4.80 a pound for 9 to 12 pound whole smoked turkeys, 6 to 8 pound mini pit hams for $5.99 a pound. Limit 4 of each item per customer. Call in advance to ensure availability or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Waco Custom Marketplace, your full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Carl Page, someone was saying there's too much pepperoni on a pizza. Carl Page, after I did the Marco's pizza, there is no such thing. Wait a minute. There is such a thing as too much pepperoni.
No, I disagree. I think you can cover every inch that you can with a pepperoni. It's why that pepperoni magnifico is great.
Yeah, but then they curl up a little bit and there shows little pieces of the cheese.
That's what you want.
Not all pepperonis are equal from Sir Blah Blah Blah.
I mean, no, that's true. That's true.
Pepperoni stuffed turkey.
You know what?
What?
You know what job I would like to invent for myself? I dream of being a consultant. I would like to go just deli to deli all over the country and invent sandwiches for them because I really think I could do that. I think people would respond to my creations well, and they would make a lot of money, and I could get a percentage.
Would you want the money or the pizza or the sandwich?
Well, I mean, look, I can have both. I mean, like, you give me, you want me to come to your deli, I'll invent a sandwich that everybody's going to want to eat, and you give me 15% of everyone you sell.
You're not getting that much.
I mean, we're starting at 15. I mean, I'll negotiate down to, say, 10, but...
From Clint Moses, do it, Paul. Follow your dreams.
Thank you, Clint.
Beer Smoker, 4444, pepperoni wrapped bacon.
Huh.
Hey, Frank Harris, UTSA quarterback, joins us today at around 5:30. A little bit before that, we'll hear from Abram Smith, former Baylor running back, #1 overall pick in the XFL. And then we don't have a college guest today until Sam Kahn joins us at 4 o'clock. Again, somebody zone at Tucson 93. Where's Craig? He was under the weather a little bit yesterday, probably worse yesterday than today, and hopefully will be back with us at some point, if he can be, tomorrow. Gary Wilson. One part of the college-athlete relationship that hasn't been talked about is the academic eligibility requirements set by the NCAA. Progress toward graduation should impact things. It's the third leg of the stool.
See, that's one of the things they're going to probably have to guarantee that they keep, because if you turn me into an employee and you're paying me to play football or basketball or whatever, then why in the contract do I have to go to class? Can I just be a representative of the university?
Or some of them might say, I still don't have to keep going to class.
Yeah, it's true. But, I do think that's, those are the give and takes that are going to happen to make sure that you do keep the somewhat of the university model somewhere, somehow.
All right, Pat McAfee. I teased it, and thank God I went back up on the chat room. And let me make sure I have this correct. I asked, in fact, who was it? Was Paul the Mountaineer fan? Paul sent this to me about Pat McAfee. And, man, I'm struggling today, Paul.
Yeah.
I'm this being on the right-hand side.
Do you want me to? He sent me something, too. I can pull it up. I just need to get to my.
Here it is.
Okay.
No, because you read too fast. I didn't know why there was any kind of disconnect between, and we brought this up earlier in the week, Pat McAfee and West Virginia. He is worth, what is he, like, maybe, I don't know, is he 50 million, 45 million, whatever it is. He's an absolute rock star. He missed a couple of, this is according to Mountaineer Paul. And we have a lot of West Virginia fans, so you can confirm or deny this, or just let us know if there's anything missing here as well. But thanks to Paul for sending this. Pat McAfee missed 2 field goals against Pittsburgh in the famous 13-9 game that knocked West Virginia out of the national championship. Then he and his family received death threats. So it's been a rocky road back. This was a situation in which 1% of our fan base hurt the rest of us idiot fans. Not the rest of us idiot fans, but the idiot fans who did this. So he kind of has this thing where he's been made so big. Why would he come back to West Virginia now after being treated badly and after being one of the best players at all time, the leading scorer everywhere, ever there? It was handled so poorly, and then you add Dana Holgerson and Neil Brown, who both cared very little about former players. Now, I don't know if that's true. I've never heard that. And there you go. The most famous Blanken player, maybe the most famous former player in the media potential ever, star rising, and our people can't even not screw that up.
Yeah, they need to get that relationship back opened up again because, Smokey, I've been in sports talk for almost 18 years now. And one of the things that we, as an industry, have struggled to wrap our arms around is consistent viewership or listenership that you can track and sell to from college-age kids, right?
Yes.
It's a difficult market to nail down. And it is very scattershot depending on the market that you're in and where you are. Nationally, and that's not just college sports talk. That is sports talk in general. And Pat McAfee has young people kind of in the palm of his hand right now.
Yeah, he does.
They very much like the show in a way that nobody else has. And if West Virginia can just make him, not make him, but get that opportunity to where he can talk about being a Mountaineer a little bit more. And he talks about his home a lot.
He does.
A lot. He's very proud of where he's from. And, he doesn't, like his accent, he even plays up and it's very thick, when he says down, things like that. So, yeah, you've got an opportunity here for the next coach to really tap into a megastar right now. And here's what I also know about this. It won't last forever. One day, Pat McAfee will be older, and young people won't give a crap as much. And that's nothing to do with him. That's just life.
That's just life. I mean, eventually, sideline reporters eventually are replaced by other sideline reporters. You could see the guy he's worth millions. Former quarterback at Ohio State, Kirk Herbstreit. You can see, seen him grow up from a young, former, out of college star to where he is now. He's now got the gray going. He's still in great shape. He could probably go for another 20 years, but eventually, look at some of the other guys. Unfortunately, then you have others who have health issues, like Lee Corso, who's not on as often, or Dick Vitale missed a year because of what he had to do with cancer. And it was great to see Dickie V on the TV in that doubleheader on Tuesday night in those games, Kansas, Duke, and also Michigan State and Kentucky. See what the chat room, a couple of other. West Virginia needs a new AD, a new head coach, and a lot more. Pat lost my respect when he started lecturing his viewers about social justice. To each his own. And some, there's some that just they didn't like it. They didn't like to hear it, and then they also okay, I get this, and now it's, I've had people that have told me they got tired of it being shoved down your throat. Everyone has their own political views and their own ways, but Joey, we appreciate you at least being honest about it. Let's see. Buckshot, Jeff Saturday, head coach of the Colts. Why not Pat McAfee as head coach at West Virginia?
Well, because he'll make less money.
He will make a lot less money. I did see this, and I don't know if you can Google this or not. I thought that Pat McAfee is now like $38 million.
Well, he signed a 4-year, $140 million deal with DraftKings, I want to say, to distribute FanDuel.
That's just with FanDuel.
That's the sponsor of his show. And then he has the WWE contract that he has. He has the ESPN stuff he's doing now. Yeah. As much money as Nick Saban makes, Pat McAfee can, invite him on his own jet.
Yeah, Nick Saban and those commercials with Dion, the Aflac, and all that other stuff.
Look, here's the deal.
You're not getting that. You're not doing that for free.
I'm not telling you that Pat McAfee doesn't work hard, but I can promise you he doesn't work as hard as a college football coach.
No.
And
now he's on Game Day. That's not. They don't get that for free. He has his own show, which is incredibly popular. And he stands there in a muscle shirt, and he can just say whatever he wants. We can too on YouTube. We try to keep it a little bit until Paul gets on a rant about parades. Tell Craig to eat a plum. It's from Mike. It's a Seinfeld reference. Now, so I would absolutely not know of anything of that need. Steve Moser. Okay, well, who is for injustice? Good question. I had a dream about dogs last night. The working man. What? Is McAfee even a West Virginia booster? I would think.
Maybe not.
I would think that he probably contributes to the athletic department, but if he felt, if he was hurt enough by that, I'm someone who has given back to my alma mater, Stephen F. Austin, but they don't even know my name because my name's never going to be on a building. That's it. About the most I've ever done for them is buy season tickets for a section at Stephen F. Austin men's basketball games because it's a hell of an environment, although they lost to Alcorn State earlier this year. Paul, how do you feel about the Gasparilla Parade?
I only went once when I lived there. I didn't really watch the parade. Now, there were some sightseeing around the parade that I rather enjoyed, but it was wound up being more of a headache than it was worth in the long run for us that day. So I kind of left with a sour taste in my mouth.
You ever been in a Mardi Gras parade?
I've been to Mardi Gras, or there during the Mardi Gras weekend, but I didn't go to the parade.
Okay. All right. It's 3:53 in the 4 o'clock hour. We're going to start it a little bit early because we have a lot of guests to get to, including Mickey Spagnola in about a half hour on the Cowboys in the NFL. In the studio today, Jack McKenzie, also Jacob Wilson, and we also have Garrett Ross. The picks this week that we have to give. Craig, Paul, and I was 1-6 last week, and I can't believe I got the one right. I think that was Alabama, Ole Miss. all 5 Big 12 games. There's 5 losses for me right there. Oregon against Utah, USC, and UCLA. Before we take the break, I want to get into this. So I haven't made my picks yet because whatever I mean, it was awful last week. TCU's a 2.5-point pick.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but.
You do?
I mean, I get why they think that.
No, you get that it's only 2.5?
No, I get. Yeah, I know. I mean, I know. I get it's only 2.5, but I mean,
they've won 6 of the last 7. Who knows? Kansas State 7.5-point pick against West Virginia.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Texas a 9.5-point pick at Kansas.
Yeah, I think that game might be a little more exciting than that, but I do think Kansas's defense and Texas trying to bounce back.
It all depends. Get up off the canvas. They did it before.
The other thing is the last time that they were in Lawrence, or the last time they played them.
No, because the Charlie Strong year is the year they lost in Lawrence.
Yeah, last year they played them. It was in Austin. So,
and one of the most unbelievable finishes where a guy had never caught like a pass, and then he got the ultimate NIL, remember? Because he caught the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
Texas Tech's a 3-point underdog against Iowa State.
Yeah, they haven't played well on the road. I'm leaning towards Texas Tech in that game just because Iowa State's just found a way to not win.
Oklahoma is a 7-point favorite against Oklahoma State.
I think that's because they're healthy and Oklahoma State is not relatively, but I don't know, man.
From Beer Smoker 4444, Utah Big Smoky. Okay. Be sure and ask Mickey, how the hell did the Cowboys lose that game to Green Bay? From Clint Moses, McAfee covering college football is a joke. For years, he only covered pro sports, often doesn't know facts, has his team in his ear telling him whatever he might say.
Well, look, he messed up a couple times this year, but I'm going to tell you, he's not there right now for his expertise necessarily. I mean, that's only part of it.
He's an entertainer.
He's there to, because they don't have Lee Corso. And no offense to anybody else on that. They've got a lot of really good people on TV. I think David Pollock's one of the best analysts there is out there. But Kirk Herbstreit, Reese Davis,
Desmond
Howard, and all those other guys are this. And that's what they want them to be. They want them to be X. They want them to be here. And they can go this. What Lee Corso was not only was he, and Lee Corso got a lot of stuff wrong over the years. A lot of stuff.
No one cared
because Lee Corso was the personality. He's the heart and soul. And without that, you don't have that same kind of fun vibe on College Game Day. And it's not about the other host, but you can't really have 2 Corsos. You have to have everybody else, and then you have Corso because then it makes it.
Yeah, you can't have 2 Ed McMahons on the Carson show, right?
Yeah.
All right, so
Doc wasn't over there making jokes.
Desmond Howard, Heisman Trophy winner. Herbstreit played at Ohio State. Pollock was an All-American linebacker, I believe. And then, you know what would be nice, and this is not everybody deserves or earns a ribbon. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody on that group, somebody a part of that show as an analyst that is not a Power 5 football player?
Yeah, I think it would.
That doesn't mean that they would disagree with Herbstreit, Desmond Howard, and David Pollock, but give maybe a different perspective or at least a different angle where you have, and those guys are good. And Pat McAfee, again, West Virginia, to have somebody, and I don't know who, first of all, they have to earn that opportunity and be good and entertaining, but that someone outside of the box of the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the Big 12, or the ACC.
Yeah. By the way,
Bo Nix is questionable for the game against Utah?
Yeah, well, then I might have to change my pick on that one. Let's see. A lot of people are giving you Ed McMahon's. You are correct, sir.
On Ed McMahon, yeah.
But Lester Lee says having Pat makes game day still more watchable than the Fox kickoff show. And I think that's kind of the issue with the Fox kickoff show is Reggie Bush is probably the biggest personality they have there. And I think he's good at what he does, but the coaches they brought in, Urban Meyer isn't fun to listen to. He knows the game, and I'm not even getting into the fact that I wish people would stop hiring him. But they had Bob Stoops. No offense to Bob, but he's not If you told me like Bob Stoops is going to star in a television show, I'd be like, about what?
No, but you know what? He was much more personable in that role than you probably thought.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, you're right. I think he was much more personable. But you're right. It seemed like it's a little bit, it's like damped. It's not dampened. What's the word? Dampened?
Yeah.
It's just not the same. They'll be in Waco Saturday for the Big noon kickoff for Baylor and also TCU. All right, when we come back, Sam Kahn, he's covering TCU Baylor. He's done stories on Sonny Dykes and TCU and more, and he's next on 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. I got a text a couple of nights ago from Dr. Steve Childress. I had endorsed his product, and I have now for at least 2 or 3 years. Sent him a copy of it, and the text he sent back to me made me almost blush because he was like, my God, can we use this in our social media campaign, our marketing campaign? I said, absolutely, because everything I say about you, I mean it. I've been through it. I've experienced how he has changed me in understanding, and probably a little bit late, but there's still room to make up for lost ground when it comes to my dental work. And I've had to pay for it, literally with cash, and then also with just some pain along the way. Dr. Steve Childress has told me, this is what we need to do. First of all, stop doing lozenges. Because I used to, as Paul knows and Craig knows, I used to have lozenges in my mouth all the time during football season because my throat would start to wear down. And all that is like feeding cavities into your teeth and decaying your teeth. So I got rid of a lot of those things I shouldn't have been eating in the first place or chewing on. Get teeth cleaning. I didn't go because I was scared to hear what they were going to tell me. So I'm doing that. I eventually got a tooth pulled, got 2 implants, have 2 crowns put in. So at least I have my smile back somewhat. Still need to work on more of it. Dr. Steve Childress really is amazing. This is a man who's done dental work for our soldiers. So imagine what he can do when there's some sort of a crisis with you, whether it's a tooth that hurts when you bit down on something or something that's like has to be looked at immediately. And he's done that for me a couple of different times. One time on a Friday late evening, and I felt bad because I interrupted his dinner, and he helped me get through the weekend with a little help on my tooth on the bottom right-hand molar. He is amazing. The staff is amazing. They have a bunch of people there to help you, and that's all they do. That's why they're there. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Howdy, Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Saturday morning, 11 o'clock on Fox. Number 4, unbeaten TCU after their win in Austin. 6-4 Baylor, defending Big 12 champions, will not be able to defend that title this year. They have been up until they got smacked around and smothered by Kansas State. Sam Kahn will be here and has done stories on TCU, Sonny Dykes and others, and joins us on 365 Sports. Sam, looking at their last game, the TCU game, what impressed you the most about winning the game in Austin the way they did?
I think it was their ability to stick with what their game plan is and has been, despite the fact that they were dominated on the line of scrimmage in the early going. That Texas had 8 tackles for loss in the first quarter of that game. And I think it would have been very easy for Garrett Riley and Sonny Dykes to just throw their hands up and ditch the whole game plan. But they still stuck to what they do. They still try to take a lot of stuff on the perimeter, the bubble screens and the quick outs and things like that. Even though, even to me, I was a little bit critical. I think I said I would dump everything off the call sheet that doesn't go to 33 Kendra Miller or to number 1 Quentin Johnston. But they stuck with it, and then in the second half, they did what they've done in the last few weeks, which is give you that heavy dose of Kendra Miller in the second half and let their O-line wear you down until they finally bust some runs. And I thought it was really impressive for them to kind of weather that storm early on and then still go in there and get some offense generating in the second half. To say nothing of their defense, which has been great the last 2 weeks. The defense has been great against Texas Tech, and the defense was fantastic against Texas, especially fitting the run game and shutting Bijan Robinson down. But I think overall, just their patience and willingness to stick to what they do and not get off script, because it's very easy to get tight in these situations. You're 10-0, and you're in the college football playoff ranking, and it's easy for people to say, hey, take it one game, one play at a time, but buddy, the stakes are high now. It is very easy to get outside of yourself and lose focus and do something different, but I'm impressed with the way they stuck with what they do and still be able to come out with a win in a tough situation.
Sam, we had Sonny Dykes on the show yesterday, and he said that they don't really talk about all that stuff, that he's got a team that's kind of just focused on the now, which is, I believe him. I mean, it's hard to believe that you would have that, especially in this era, but they seem to be just kind of free and breezy when it comes to week preparation and focused on just what's ahead of them. And for a TCU team that's not regularly in this position, I think that's maybe the best coaching accomplishment of the year for him.
Yeah, and I think I believe that they probably don't talk about it. I'm sure they don't talk about it in team meetings, and I'm sure they're not talking in the position meetings or in the pregame. But let's be honest, they're young men. They probably look at their phones. They know that everybody is paying attention. They know where they're ranked because it's impossible to escape it if you're on social media. And so I think they understand that. And I think Sonny mentioned when they played Texas Tech a couple weeks ago that they came out kind of tight and they were pressing a little bit and that he sensed that. And the one thing that I think that Sonny Dykes has done a good job of is I think he's had a good finger on the pulse of what the mood of the team is. And he's not going to be one that says, well, this is the way we're going to do it and we're never going to talk about it, we're going to ignore it. I think if he senses that the team is thinking about it too much or talking about it too much, that he's going to address it. I think he's going to be straight up with them about it. But that, to your point and to his point, I think a lot of that has to do with the maturity of the team. Think about all the key players on this team. Kendry Miller's a junior. Max Duggan's a senior. Quentin Johnson's a junior. So many of these guys, Tay Barber's a veteran. So many of these guys are guys who have been in this program and been around for a long time. So they've seen a lot of Big 12 football. They've played a lot of Big 12 football. And even though they haven't enjoyed that kind of success, remember, a lot of these guys came to this program expecting to have this kind of success. A lot of these players, I remember I talked with Max Duggan about it a few weeks back. Part of the reason he chose to come to TCU, in addition to just what he liked about the school and the campus, was he was right after they played for the Big 12 championship in 2017. He thought, I'm going to come in there and compete at that level. I think for a lot of them, this is a relief. It is them finally living up to the potential that they always thought they had. I think they always thought they had the talent to do this. They just haven't been able to do it in the last few years of Gary Patterson era for a myriad number of reasons.
Do you think, in a way, even though they have a better record than Baylor had at this time last year, based on what you said about fifth-year senior, fourth year, a lot of games, isn't that kind of what was Baylor's mettle in a way and the edge they had last year with a lot of guys that were fifth- and sixth-year players? Not so many sixth.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. No, 100%. I think you're dead on with that. And I think that's why, to some extent, you've seen Baylor be so up and down this year. And I think it's easy for us as observers and fans of college football to just look at the talent on the roster and say this team is going to be this good or that good because of X, Y, and Z talent and these players on the roster. I think because of how transient players have become, roster management guys, moving from team to team, or even the influx of freshmen playing more prominent roles. I mean, heck, you got a top 15 team in North Carolina that's got a true freshman starting quarterback in Drake May. We got Texas down here who's got a redshirt freshman in Quinn Ewers, and honestly, I would argue he's closer to a true freshman than a redshirt freshman when you consider how long he's actually been on a college campus. But we get so infatuated with that I think we forget how valuable experience is and how much it matters, because we're so used to seeing either guys transfer or guys come in, go 3 years, and then go to the draft. In a way, it almost kind of reminds me of, the teams in the NCAA tournament that you see, and they go deep. They're the Cinderella teams that you see go deep into the tournament. They go to the Elite Eight or they go to the Sweet 16, and you're like, you look up and down the roster, it's a bunch of juniors and seniors. That's kind of what Baylor was last year. That's kind of what TCU is this year. And I think you hit a nail on the head. I think that's played a big role in both of those teams' success in those respective seasons.
Yeah, Sam, we cover Baylor every week, and we don't know what to make of them. They have been that puzzling. So to hear you say that from outside, an every week kind of a thing, it just showed that's kind of what the national thing is, what's going on with this Baylor team. But they have been better about keeping people out of the transfer portal than anybody. And still you have this because sometimes you lose the heart and soul of the team. And I think that when you lose a Jalen Petrie, Terrell Bernard, JT Woods on defense alone in the same year, you can't just replace those three dudes.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think we all overestimated Baylor at the beginning of the season because of the talent. Because I looked at, and I'll speak for myself in this conversation, I picked them to win the Big 12 at the start of the year. And the reason I did is I was willing to overlook losing Petrie and Bernard and losing Abram Smith and losing the guys in the secondary because of what they had on the line of scrimmage, because of what they returned on the offensive line, because of the depth that they had returned on the defensive line, and some of the key guys, even at linebacker with Dylan Doyle and Matt Jones. I thought I thought they would be able to figure it out well enough in those other spots that they lost guys that they would still push through and get to the Big 12 title. Now I look at it and I think to myself, man, I really did underestimate how much of an impact losing guys like Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie would matter in this equation. And so I think you're 100% right about that. And what has Baylor done this year? They've been up and down, just like you would expect a young player to be. Even Blake Shapen, I think we were all very high on Blake Shapen because of the potential we see in his talent, not really thinking that really he had only started 2 games before the season. You know, I mean, he's still very much growing and learning as a player himself. And so, like I said, I just mentioned Quinn Ewers at Texas. Ewers is going through a lot of struggles down there, even though he's the number 1 recruit in his class. And he was the number 1 overall prospect. And everybody expects him to go out there and play like Trevor Lawrence or Tua, or even when we see from Drake May. And everybody's growth pattern and everybody's trajectory is not like that. It does not always go linear. It's very much up and down for a lot of young guys, especially at that position. And I think that plays a lot into how the team plays overall, but it's not just at that position. I think it's across the board. So I still think Baylor is a good team. And I looked at them last week. I thought they were going to handle K-State because I looked at what they did on the ground the last 3 weeks and the way that offense started clicking and started looking like what I remember 2021 was. And I was like, oh, they're going to go in there and handle K-State. And then obviously it doesn't go that way. And you're like, wow, I can't pin this team down. So I'm about as clueless as you guys are. But I think the reasoning for it is because there is just a lot of new pieces that are still trying to grow up.
Yeah. And Sam, I would tell people to you don't have to go too far back in history to find a guy who wound up being maybe the greatest college quarterback of his era in Vince Young and one of the most dominant players. But if you had looked at his first couple of years as a starter, had they kept on the way that they were coaching him and the way that they were kind of trying to run this offense around Vince and not through Vince, that you would have been like, Texas fans would be like, yeah, Vince was good. You know, we liked Vince. He was fun, but nothing ever really came of it. But then when the coaches decided, like, hey, we're going to take the reins off this dude or we're going to coach him differently, then he became, a god there. So it takes time, even for the super studs.
Right. No doubt. I agree 100%. And it's funny you mentioned that because, Max and I, we were talking about that on our podcast today because we got into the discussion about Ewers. And part of it is coaching. Part of it is Steve Sarkisian's got to help out Quinn Ewers by running the ball to Bijan Robinson more than 12 times in a game.
Bingo.
Because that you got one of the probably 5 best players, like just in terms of pure talent in the country in your backfield. You got to give them the ball a little more. And I understand they were struggling. But I think sometimes you got to force the issue and you've got to help your young quarterback. But at the same time, I think we as college football fans and observers, I think because of guys like Tua and Trevor and Drake May, that we see that immediate success, and we expect every young 4-star or 5-star quarterback to do that. And that's just not the way it goes. And I think because of how quickly teams and fans are to move on to the next guy and say, okay, we'll bring in the next recruit, or let's go hit the portal and get another guy. It really does. That position in particular is so driven by your psyche, and I think you have to handle so much more because of how much the center of attention you are at that position. But I think you can really ruin a guy if you don't handle it right. So I think it's one thing as fans, sometimes we have to reset our expectations for these guys because, like I said earlier, it's that trajectory is not always going to be a straight line up. I think it's going to be bumpy along the way.
Sam, what does it say, the Big 12? Because for a long, long time, we know Oklahoma won, it seemed like forever. What was it, 5 or 6 years in a row? And, yeah, there's others who have jumped up, Baylor in 13, Baylor TCU in 14, among some others, Oklahoma State or whoever. In the last 2 years, it looks like Oklahoma State, Baylor, possibly TCU and Kansas State are going to play for the Big 12 title. And Oklahoma State still has a chance to be a part of that. But it's 4 different teams that might be playing for the conference championship, but it's always been, at least in some ways, nationally thought of as Texas OU, and for the last 10, 12 years, it hasn't even been Texas.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to me because after the move was announced last summer that Texas and OU were leaving, I think we all talked about what the future of the Big 12 would be and what it would look like and who would rule the roost once we knew that the conference was going to be stable and everything, it was a race to who's going to rule the roost in the future iteration of the conference, who's going to be the big dog, so to speak, when OU is no longer there. And in a way, we're kind of already there. We're now going on 2 straight years where OU is not going to be in the Big 12 championship game. And like you said, we're going to have 4 different teams in it. And I think that's a great sign for the conference as a whole. It certainly is a sign of the depth of the conference. Don't listen to what anybody else in the country wants to tell you about ECU schedule or Kansas State schedule or whatever. This is a damn good conference. And you can see it by how many teams are above 500 right now, how many teams are probably going to go to a bowl game this year, and how competitive the games are week in and week out. And you mentioned those teams at the top. I look at a team like Texas Tech, and I see how they're recruiting right now and how competitive they've been in year 1 of the Joey McGuire era, save for that Baylor game, which was the one game they really got blown out. But I look at them as they're one that I'm really fascinated by in the next couple of years. Like in 2 or 3 years, what are they going to be? And then when you bring in these other programs that are coming in next year, how is that going to change the equation? So we are kind of already moving into the new era of the Big 12 without the 2 departing schools having left. And I think that's healthy for the conference long term. And it's been fascinating to watch.
Sam, I do want to ask you one theoretical Texas A&M question. Now that they're 3-7, out of a bowl game, and Jimbo Fisher can really start planning his offseason and whatever he's going to change or try to explain his way out of that he doesn't change in the offseason, which what happens, I don't know. How about this? Incarnate Word head coach Gary Joe Kenny, new A&M offensive coordinator.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but that would be the same move that Eric Morris made to Washington State. Man, that I would not wish that on Incarnate Word to have to go through a head coaching change another second straight year. But yeah, I mean, you look at what they're doing offensively. Gosh, they put up 70 and a half a couple of weeks ago, and Lindsey Scott, who has been a journeyman, I wrote about him at The Athletic yesterday. A terrific story, former LSU recruit. He's in the 7th year. He's now in the 5th school, but he's leading the FCS in passer rating. He's 2nd in passing yards. He's up there in touchdowns responsible for, you name it. And that offense has been one of the best in the country. DJ has got a decorated history. He went from that Gus Malzahn tree because he was at Tulsa right as Gus left. They got to play in that offense, and then he obviously coached with Gus at UCF. Definitely a strong offensive mind. I can promise you, he probably for A&M fans is not the sexy name that they would want, but I can promise you can do a lot worse than G.J. Kinney because he's a smart guy, a good offensive coach, former Texas high school quarterback, as we all know.
Yep.
Very successful at this level here, and was a successful college quarterback as well. Played in the pros and bounced around the NFL and CFL. So yeah, I think you could do a lot worse than G.J. Kinney. I think he's a good coach, and he's done a fantastic job at Incarnate Word. They're 9-1 right now, and they're in the top 10 in the polls. You got to give them credit for that, especially after they lost their head coach and their quarterback, who helped get him in the second round of the playoffs last year.
Cam Ward,
the column is why it popped into my head. I read the thing, and I was like, well, I'm going to ask Sam about this.
And Ward's, they're going to make a bowl game at Washington State, but I think people thought it might even be more of an uptick. But you're right, 9-1 after losing a guy that's now playing for a Power 5 school at your quarterback position. So, Sam, thank you very much. See you Saturday.
No problem. Thanks. Looking forward to seeing y'all.
Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, covers college football across the board, does a lot of work with the Big 12, and he'll be here along with Bruce Feldman for theathletic.com for that game between TCU and Baylor just after 11 o'clock. Our pregame will be right here in the studio at 9 o'clock on KWTX TV as well locally, plus right here on 365 Sports.
If you are sad about missing cartoons, just let me know, and I'll try to do something to make you. I don't know what cartoons are on anymore.
You know what? When I was a kid, when I woke up and it was some sort of interruption from cartoons, it was a bad day.
Oh, it's hot.
Bad day. When we come back, Mickey Spagnola, Cowboys will have the Vikings. Is that right? In a couple of days, next week from now. Yes. A week from now, Vikings. And then, of course, next week, the Thanksgiving Day. So the quick turnaround.
Against
Vikings
the 7-2
this week,
Giants.
and then the Giants, a couple of games here where they slipped on the banana peel against Green Bay. They're okay, but you got to be careful you don't have a little stretch here where you find yourself hovering around 500. This is 365 Sports. Pickup Outfitters, Jay Arrett, 25 years, an anniversary at Pickup Outfitters. 25 years. And right now they have a promotion. You can buy a product and get the second product at 25% off. Think about that with Pickup Outfitters. 25 years, an anniversary. Jay Arrett, 220 Lake Air Drive. Here are some of what they have available through Thanksgiving. So that's through the rest of until next Thursday. Buy a bed cover, get a spray and liner for 25% off. Buy a grill guard, get a running board or running boards at 25% off. You could buy a bed cover and get a spray and liner for 25% off. Also, multiple vehicles. This works for multiple vehicles, not just for one. If you have 3 or 4 in the family, you can get this for each one. Buy a toolbox for one truck, get a toolbox for a second truck at 25% off. Also, they're giving away over $4,000 worth of prizes, $1,000 in truck accessories, 12,000-pound winch, set of 4 FabTech Stealth shocks, 12-volt fridge cooler, 1-month subscriptions, plural, to Netflix and much more. No purchase is necessary. A lot of swag while it lasts. Pickup Outfitters, createacommotion.com. It lasts through Thanksgiving, 25th anniversary at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Squirrel Williams, the running back on 3rd down and 9. The tight end Johnson goes in motion over the middle. It's tipped and intercepted. Savage has got it.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Vaughn's got the ball. He's got a first down and more. Across midfield, breaking tackles, and inside the 40 of Baylor. Deuce got loose, and the Cats are rolling.
Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
If you missed the start of the show and also yesterday, Craig's been under the weather. Better today than yesterday, but still not quite great. And he will maybe be back with us tomorrow as we continue with 365 Sports. We're on until 6. Coming up at 5, former Baylor running back and now number 1 overall pick of the XFL draft, Abram Smith. And then also Frank Harris, quarterback at UTSA, and a quarter that is amazing about his quarterback. We're joined by Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, the game against the Cowboys and Packers, either way, could have won the game, whatever. They didn't. And now you look at a couple of teams, and I don't know if anyone's all in on what Minnesota's done and or what the Giants have done, but did they all of a sudden maybe lose a little mulligan because of that loss with what they have coming up next?
Well, we got a long ways to go, right? 8 more games. And who would have thought the Eagles would have lost to Washington, right? This past game. So, yeah, I think a lot of things that can happen. I don't know that the Cowboys have to think that way. You know, Anthony Brown told me something that I hadn't thought of. You know, they're 6-3, and everybody's ready to write them off because they lost the game. And he said, we're 6-3. Last year at this time, we were 7-2. So the difference is not that great considering they were, able to win those 4 games out of 5 that Dak missed. So I don't know about the mulligan, to get to where you want to go, and that's always to win the division. Yeah, they've got to make up ground, but they do have a game against both of those teams. And now those are the ones that you would say, yeah, got to win those 2 for sure. And then we'll see how the rest of the league plays out, especially with the parity we've seen so far. I mean, there's teams with losing records beating teams that you never thought they could beat. So we'll see how it goes, but they just got to take care of themselves. They're not going to win out. No one thought that they were going to go, 14-3. I don't think a soul picked them to do that. So they just got to take care of their business. And it would certainly help if they took care of it Sunday against Minnesota.
Mickey, there's Cowboy fans all over the internet upset because the Eagles have signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh in the last couple days to help shore up what's been a shaky run defense on their end. I know that Cowboys fans always want them to sign free agents. It doesn't appear the Cowboys are going to really get into the market. What do you think that they will do to shore up that run defense on Dan Quinn's end?
Well, they brought in Hankins, right?
Yeah.
Is he different than either of those 2 guys that haven't been playing? At least Hankins been playing this year, right?
Yeah.
Those guys have been on their couch. Now, the other thing you got to consider when you bring in older guys like that, are they healthy and will they stay healthy? So it's a little bit of a crapshoot when you do that. I mean, if Ndamukong Suh's that good, why didn't he have a job for 10 weeks of the season? The same thing with, Linval Joseph. So we'll see how that pans out. The Cowboys tried to make a move. They tried to trade for a wide receiver at the trade deadline. They really wanted Jerry Jeudy, and Denver wanted an arm and a leg, and you're just not going to do that if you think the guy you're trading for is no more than your second or third wide receiver. They got the 6-2 what they had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you argue with it? Probably not. One of the losses was without Dak. I know they lost the season opener, and I always said when they lost that one after way other teams traded Tampa Bay, they're going to rue the day they lost that game. And they may still, right? But just because you didn't make a move doesn't mean everybody else has passed you by when they've signed names. Have they signed good players? We'll find out.
Mickey, and this is kind of a random question. What is the story about Pollard and his strength? I know everyone looks at the ability to be dynamic and pop a 50-yarder, and usually the younger backs can do that, and then eventually that's harder because it's harder. But his ability to get an extra yard and a half. Zeke, I always thought about his best runs were the ones where he was going to lose a yard, he got 2. And, he had the long runs early as well. What about the power that Pollard seems to have that maybe doesn't get talked about enough?
Yeah, I think that Skip Pete I think he put it really well. He basically pointed out that if you got a really good sedan, that car is going to go along, keep plugging along, keep doing you good. He goes, and then you get one of those Ferraris, and he goes, they're speed cars, right? And they're only speed for so long, and then you wear them out. And that was his analogy towards Tony Pollard. And if you hear clapping in the background, I'm up in the Cowboys Club because they're throwing a retirement party. You knew Emery, right? The bus driver?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, he's finally retired, and they're throwing him a little party up here in the Cowboys Club. So
that's awesome.
I think Jerry's getting ready to say something about him. But anyway, so I think, I don't know if you saw it in the game now, but he had 22 carries. That was a career high because before it was 14. And at one point in the fourth quarter, or I don't know, maybe it was overtime, he tapped out. I saw him tapping his helmet, and it's like they brought in Malik Davis. So sometimes, you wear those speed guys out, and you don't get that quick hit into the hole. So I still think the 1-2 punch of Zeke and Tony Pollard is pretty powerful, and they got to use both guys.
Mickey, do you think that Jerry will send Aaron Rodgers a retirement present when he finally does hang him up? Because this is the most disengaged from the team that Aaron has ever been. Really, you see it looked like he was kind of hapless. And then all of a sudden, the guys with the stars in the helmets come in and football's fun again.
Well, yeah, especially when you only have to throw the ball 20 times, right?
Yeah.
I said that before they go back to Lambeau Field, they need to do an exorcism of that place because it's like their voodoo palace, right? Nothing goes right there. Going into that game, they were 2-9 in Green Bay. Now they're 2-10, right? The first person to beat them was Tony Romo, and it was 2008. 2008. They've been playing them since the early 60s and couldn't beat them till then. So, Roger Staubach never won there. Don Meredith never won there. You just go on and on to think of the quarterbacks that played. And the good thing for Troy Aikman, he only had to go there once and didn't win there, by the way, in 97. That place, I don't know, just strange things continue to happen. Weird calls. There were weird calls in that game, right? I don't know how they don't call interference on the DB when he jumps on CD's back in overtime. There would have never been the fourth down decision, which, by the way, was the right call if you were there witnessing the weather problems that the kickers were having going in that direction.
Mickey, so they have this. This is when they have this quick turnaround. They're on the road, right, against Minnesota. Then they come back. There have been times they've been at home on Sunday and then played Thursday. How difficult is that, even though they're at home and not the team traveling on Thanksgiving or that week of, to turn around after Sunday? We see that a lot, and a lot of those games don't turn out to be very entertaining.
Well, here's the deal. At least this year, the away game is not on one of the coasts. Prior to this, every time they had to do that, the game was on the coast, and it's like a night game. So they're playing a night game against the Giants on Sunday. By the time you get back, Monday's just wasted, right? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. And now you got to play on Thursday. At least this time they're in the same time zone, and it's only a 2-hour flight. So I think, that shouldn't be as taxing as it has been previously. And, Mike, basically gave them an extra walkthrough this week on Wednesday to try to get them off their feet and not wear them out in the practices these next 2 days. And they had a padded practice today, and then he'll back off next week. They'll have basically walkthrough practices. So yeah, you're not as prepared to that. So I remember Jimmy Johnson's philosophy on these 2 back-to-back games is you do all you can to win the Sunday game, and then you hope your talent gets you through on Thursday.
Yeah, Mickey, I do think, though, that this Sunday game, they couldn't have drawn maybe the Derrick Henry game they got coming up later in the year, but really one of the 3 guys I don't want to play right now with your run defense trying to find itself is Dalvin Cook. That's not a fortuitous draw for them.
No, absolutely not. Now, he's the 8th leading rusher in the NFL at this point. And he's running awfully well, and that makes Justin Jefferson even more dangerous because chances are now you're throwing when you want to throw and not when you have to throw, and that certainly helps out Kirk Cousins. But I wondered 10 weeks ago if you would have said the same thing.
No, probably not.
Yeah, see, that's the crazy thing in the NFL. No one thought the Vikings are going to sit here and be 8-1. Right. And it took a miracle to get the 8th win, benefiting from Buffalo's fumble at the 1-yard line. You just never know. But no, you're right. They got to be better against the run. No 2 ways about it. They've given up 447 yards of rushing in the last 2 games. They were fortunate to beat the Bears because they ended up outscoring them. They certainly didn't stop them. They scored 29 points. You score 28, 29 points, you should win, right? And in this one, you have to score 30-some to be able to win the game. You can't do that every week. So at some point, this defense needs to step up. And to step up, they need to stop the run. 7 of their 9 opponents have rushed for 117 yards. Only 2 people didn't rush for 100 yards against the Cowboys, and it was Cincinnati and the Rams. And guess what? They won both games that probably people thought they were going to lose. So go figure how things like this happen, but they certainly did.
Mickey, you brought up Emory and that going away or whatever they're doing a toast. And, of course, Emory has driven that bus, the Cowboys, the famous bus. So if a book was to be written,
no boy,
that would be the juiciest book. If Jerry wrote it, if Emory wrote it, who drove that bus all over the place, or Roosevelt wrote it.
Yes. Absolutely. It would be an absolute bestseller. He probably shouldn't have told me some of the stories he told us on our bus trips to training camp those 3 years when we went cross country. And he saw me come in and he goes, "Well, you better have been here."
Oh,
and
yeah.
I said, "Well, you know what? If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been here." Because when we had that crash, he saved our lives by getting that bus straightened out and out of that ditch, and we didn't flip over. So, I wouldn't have missed this for the life of me.
All right, well, go get involved in that, man. We appreciate you, Mickey. Mickey
Okay.
Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. So Jerry, everyone knows Jerry, and a book he would write would be, there have been books about it.
Here's the thing. I don't know if a book that Jerry could write would be any better than just listening to Jerry talk.
Yeah.
Right? And so...
But then the guy that's driven that bus all over the country, driven him to, after practices or games, to various places, and he's in the bus the whole time, and Roosevelt the bodyguard.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, okay.
So Roosevelt doesn't leave basically his side unless he probably
So the next time
going inside somewhere.
For people who don't know who Roosevelt is, the next time you see Jerry Jones being interviewed, like in the scrum after a game or just kind of anywhere, like out at practice, wherever he is, there will be a guy who is probably 5'7", not tall. He's about my height. A black man who is probably 55, 60 years old. Roosevelt.
I don't know how old he is. Probably, yeah.
But he's like an insanely friendly person. Love talking to the guy, but he's built like a fire hydrant.
Yep.
And he knows things.
Knows everything.
He's always got sunglasses on. He looks exactly like a bodyguard. It is
got a little fro about this tall.
Yeah.
About this high.
Yeah, he's ready to go. And if somebody made a move on Jerry, I obviously wouldn't want to see it happen, but if it did, they would be like, how fast did this guy hit me and get me on the ground?
Yeah, that's why I wrote him up. Emery drove the bus. Roosevelt was with Jerry everywhere he went, and Emery was too in many, many ways on a bus, wherever he was. I mean, it could be on an airplane, the sideline, out at night, whatever it could possibly be. Now, Craig, with him being out today, no off the radar, there is a story involving Major League Baseball in the All-Star Game. We'll have that for you in the next segment. The 5 o'clock hour, looking forward to hearing from Abram Smith now, the number 1 overall pick of the XFL draft and former Beta running back. And then Frank Harris, a quarterback at UTSA, will join us as well. Paul, top 5 in an hour. This is 365 Sports.
I'm going to tell you a tale of 2 companies founded 25 years ago. The first, Pickup Outfitters, started as a little shop on Lake Erie Drive by a local company selling the truck bumpers they were making in Waco. Then, 6 years ago, new ownership took up the cause of battling vehicle nudity, vowing to fight until there were no more naked trucks in Central Texas. And so far, they estimate they've outfitted more than 40,000 trucks at Pickup Outfitters. Now, the second company's story is not as impressive. They too started 25 years ago, but didn't have the vision of Pickup Outfitters, and to date, they have not outfitted one single naked truck in 25 years. So we'll celebrate the 25th anniversary of Pickup Outfitters with money-saving specials and valuable prizes. The second company will support them too by giving away 25 one-month subscriptions to their online service called Netflix. Save and win the Pickup Outfitters 25th anniversary celebration through Thanksgiving. Details online at createacommotion.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
Craig is out. Not here. We're going to do a couple of stories here in this segment that would be very off the radar like because there's a couple of stories to update you on, and Craig should be back with us, we hope, on Friday. Tomorrow has been out. He's been sick, and he's better today, he told me, at about 2 o'clock or so than he was on Wednesday. The Rangers, the Texas Rangers, have landed the 2024 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Also,
I'll tell you right now, I'm going to the Home Run Derby.
Why?
Because, my friends
you got the drinking game.
Yeah. We're going to do it on site.
Aaron Judge, the home run ball that was the American League record, heading into auction at $3 million, offer declined.
Yeah, the guy who caught the ball, his wife is a sportscaster in Dallas.
Yeah.
And they've declined it. And
they did decide though. Initially, they did. Initially, they weren't going to. You didn't know Corey Yeomans, and then they decided to sell the ball with the Golden Auctions House, $3 million, and declined. $3 million for standing in just the right spot. The guy made a hell of a play. Made a hell of a catch on that home run from Aaron Judge. Last night, Justin Verlander, Alcantara from Florida, named unanimous in the American and National League. Verlander's 39 and won the Cy Young with the unanimous vote.
Yep, he's a future Hall of Famer. He had a fantastic bounce-back year. I'm curious to see how he spins that into his last probably giant contract. And he's going to get a big one. Look, Max Scherzer's an older guy, got a huge dollar amount. Jacob deGrom is probably going to get the biggest contract for a pitcher, I would think, this year. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Justin Verlander, Jacob, in the $35 to $40 million range for a couple of years.
Yeah. And I saw a report a couple days ago that said Jacob deGrom might kind of be interested in the Rangers.
Huh. How many games is he going to pitch?
That's a really good question.
So
151.
Let's say he gets 25 to 30 million. Is that about what he'll get?
DeGrom might get a little bit. Well, he'll get a longer term deal, but
why? He's always hurt.
Yeah, but he's younger.
He's also 30 something. Isn't DeGrom 30 or 31 or 29? How old is he?
I'm not sure.
Don't make me tell you about baseball.
But I know. But he's going to get a longer term deal because he's younger, in spite of the.
Well, not anyone's younger than Verlander except like Nolan Ryan when he was like 64 and still pitching.
Jacob deGrom is 34, so he's not that much
younger. He's 34. He's had arm issues. Of course, a lot of pitchers do, and you can get back a little bit better. He's a fantastic. His earned run average is incredible. He was flirting with that.
$33.5 million was his salary this past year, so he will top that.
The Rangers are going to pay him. If they were to get him, then he's not coming here unless they have the best offer.
The Rangers are going to have to pay.
There's no reason to come here if it's just because.
The Rangers are paying bad team prices to guys right now because they're a bad team.
Which is what used to get them in trouble forever and ever and ever until they finally had some homegrown talent like Sierra and Pudge and Gonzalez and others. Also, college football note, Iowa and Iowa State extend their series through 2027. You would think that will last forever, although you never know anymore because of the way football realignment is going. So there's that. With Iowa and Iowa State. Hopefully by the time that contract ends, both of them can score more points than they do. One local note, high school basketball. The head coach at Harker Heights High School down near Fort Hood in Killeen has been suspended for a year. Selnick Bobbitt issued a 1-year suspension, 3 years probation, public reprimand because of school practice and game restrictions. The basketball program at Harker Heights issued a 3-year probation, public reprimand, but they can be and can compete to get to the UIL playoffs, which is the company, again, or the organization that runs high school sports in the state of Texas, at least the public schools in the state of Texas. He's the only coach they've ever had at Harker Heights. That's kind of a bang what happened there, and you wonder, practicing when they didn't need to be. All right, it's 4:54. I think we got to everything we were supposed to get to. Baylor basketball against Virginia. That game is tomorrow night in Vegas. Mentioned early in the show, the really impressive win by Texas against Gonzaga. Late last night, hammered the Zags in a great win for Chris Beard and also company. From Hope, Craig rejoins tomorrow. Yes, we do too. Paul, there is that stuff that starts popping up about every day around this time on the site. You should not click on those links because they follow you wherever you go.
I'm sorry. I'm just curious.
Noel Ramirez. Jacob deGrom is the legend. You watch your mouth. Oh, no, he's fantastic, but can you, if you're the Rangers, and maybe that's why you do it, give him a deal of, let's say, $35 or $40 million a year, because it's not going to be the only way they get him is if they pay more than anybody else. And let's say, I don't know what he's averaged the last couple of years. Has he pitched 10 or 12 times a year? $3 million a start?
I'm not entirely positive, but I do know he was on the IL for a while.
Yeah.
Paul, stop clicking on those sites.
I'm trying to get rid of him.
Now, well, you're the one that created them.
I mean, I will not confirm or deny that. But
Bobby B., I lived in Harker Heights through 2 tours at Fort Hood. Coach was a taskmaster. Bobby B., thank you for serving our country.
Yeah, let me pull up DeGrom's stats for the last couple of years.
Why is this not off the top of your head?
Because it's not.
I'm throwing them out there.
Here's the deal.
If I'm right about the 12 games or whatever.
Let me pull up his baseball reference. I'm getting there. Okay.
If this was sumo wrestling, I wouldn't need to look it up.
Yeah, I'm sure. So the last couple of years he was 4-2 and 2. Okay, 2020.
How many starts?
12, 15, and 11.
I was right.
Yeah.
He averages about 12 starts the last 3 years. You think he's going to go start 25 games next year?
Oh, absolutely not.
So you're going to give I'm not asking, you're not saying you would, but he's going to want 35 to 40 million, right? At least.
Yeah.
He's not coming to Texas unless he gets the most money from anyone else, no matter who it is. So you're going to pay him what looks like you could be paying him $3 million per start.
Yeah.
In 2021, his ERA was 1.08.
That's great. The Mets were better this year without
15
him.
starts.
That's still incredible, Paul.
And by the way, I love that because I remember I was at my prime, like 9, my prime, when Bob Gibson in 68 had the 1.12 earned run average. So when I saw DeGrom deep into the season as he was that year, I was excited for him. I mean, I was like, man, I'd love to see that. But then again, eventually, it was at 2018. Yeah, 2018. In fact, he did pitch 32 times in 19 as well. His earned run average is always phenomenal. But now 12 starts, 15 starts, 11 starts. And in that time, he won 16 games, lost 8. Good record. Is that worth 35 to 40? I know that's the going rate now for an elite pitcher.
It's not, but, the Red Sox have been paying Chris Sale for 2 years, and they've gotten nothing out of him since the World Series. That's just how it happens.
Sir blah, blah, blah. Paul, it's safe. Click on every link and even the attachments. Show memo. Hey, Sikkim family, the Bears, beer, and bees. Good day. Thank you for being a part of the show. Steve Snook, by the way, SMU Tulane tonight should be interesting. How many touchdown passes? Tanner Mordecai against that defense of Tulane coming off the loss to UCF. Could be interesting coming up. But Noel Ramirez is mad at me. The legend, DeGrom, the legend. You wash your mouth out with soap, and I will. I should do that. My dad, that's what we did when we said bad words when we were younger.
So he's from DeLand. Okay, I didn't
DeLand.
know. Yeah.
No, when I was a kid and we said bad words, and my mom and my father, it was usually my mom because we could not handle it when my dad was around because he was a beautiful, wonderful man. I had buck teeth when I was younger, and if we cussed, the bar of soap, and when you have buck teeth, it's like you're leading the railroad. So it was unfair. I would get more soap than anyone else because I had food graders here. I mean, I'd have half the bar of soap, because he couldn't get underneath my brother's teeth because they were a little bit more normal.
They ever just?
I should have.
How about one little drip of palm olive? They ever do that? Because then, once you try to drink water, because it's dish soap, then it gets worse.
No, there's nothing. That never comes. You have bubbles in your nose and your mouth for at least 3 or 4 days. Steven Snook, ain't one hitter ever faced Bob Gibson dug in at the plate or ever glanced back at him. Or if he hit them, did they ever look at him? And then Sir blah, blah, blah. I also had buck teeth. Thank God for braces. Okay, coming up next, we're going to hear from Abram Smith, former Baylor running back, the number 1 overall pick of the XFL, and what this means, opportunity to be seen again by more people. This is 365 Sports. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Cheyenne, Ashley, Carol, knowledgeable about what they do. The products they have, including whatever size cigar you want, coffee, pipe tobacco, CBD, or THC assortment for you. Don's Humidor has any kind of gift you need between now and Christmas, if that's what you want, for someone who's in the family or a good buddy, a friend as well. Holidays are, of course, here. Stressful time. If you want to, come by and look at their, I guess you could say, options of CBD, legal THC, and legal mushroom products. That got Paul all worked up a couple of days ago. Extremely diverse selection to help create something that's more relaxing for you and even stress relief for both humans and pets. Don's Humidor allows and has new coffees, including those that are special, I guess you could say, taste and aroma for the holidays and cooler weather. Make a cup of coffee while you're in town, and you could do that in your own kitchen with the fresh coffee beans available. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center, Valley Mills in Waco.
The wait is over. Richard Carr GMC has the trucks. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot, and they're waiting for you. Sierra trucks offer best-in-class towing, strong steel beds, multi-pro tailgates, and advanced features that make driving a Sierra second to none. Trucks are waiting for you to test drive now. So call now, log in now, or get here now and drive your next truck today at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties or time with the family, with various specials available while supplies last in store or ordering by phone, including 8 to 10 pound half spiral hams at $4.15 a pound, 12-pound pit hams at $4.35 a pound, 8 to 22 pound bone-in hams for $3.40 a pound, 14 to 16 pound whole raw turkeys at $2.85 a pound, and $4.80 a pound for 9 to 12 pound whole smoked turkeys, 6 to 8 pound mini pit hams for $5.99 a pound. Limit 4 of each item per customer. Call in advance to ensure availability or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Waco Custom Marketplace, your full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
First down, Smith with a running room. Abram Smith picking him up, puts him down. Abram Smith down inside the 10.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
If you recall, it was not that long ago when we had the great Abram Smith, former Baylor and record-breaking running back, on the show and just kind of talking about his situation in professional football, trying to get another glimpse or some tryouts. And then yesterday, he was the number 1 overall pick in the XFL by the DC Defenders, and he joins us now on 365 Sports. Abram, I know your goals and what you want, but how much does this help kind of just get you a chance again?
This helps tremendously. It's like another stepping stone just to get back to where I want to be and where I know I should be at. And, when you think about it, the XFL is like an intersection between make it or break it. And, it gives everybody an opportunity. The guys, that kind of fallen out and haven't got the chance to step into the NFL. This is like a stepping stone to just get right back to where we need to be.
How exciting is it to be part of the relaunch with The Rock and everything going on with the league?
And it's exciting. I was able to actually get on a call with him, and that was a big time thing for me. Just being a fan as a little kid, watching WWE. So just being a part of that, and then being the first pick overall. I mean, to me, I was blessed and really excited to be a part of them.
What did he say to you?
Yeah, could you share part of the conversation?
Yeah, no, we just talked about how they're happy to have me on, how I'm happy to be there. I'm blessed to be there. I'm just, I'm thankful for the opportunity that they're giving, not only me, but other players, just to be able to get back to the NFL. A lot of times whenever you get out of the NFL, it's really hard to get back in. You got to find ins and outs. You got to go to different leagues. But with the XFL, there's a lot of care towards the players and like a lot of push and encouragement to get back to the NFL. So that was mostly what the conversation was about. And like I said earlier, just that the XFL is really the intersection between, not making it and making it back to the NFL.
So, Abram, what was your I guess process yesterday? What did you expect? Are there calls like there would be with agents or people contacting you? What was that like over the last couple of days?
It was really just people contacting, just making sure everything's in place, making sure that I'm ready to go, that I'll be available. It's kind of the same deal that it was for the NFL draft. And then when it came down to the actual day, it was the same stuff. It's not broadcast live like it would be on TV, but I mean, there was still phone calls. I received a phone call, and from Coach Barlow and the defenders, and it was the same thing as if it was would be for the NFL draft.
You mentioned the intersection and the opportunity. It is, I think most people don't realize, for a guy who is trying to break in, if you're on a practice squad, how little that you'll actually have time to get noticed during an actual practice and the things that you have to do. So for this, where you will actually get to be, if everything goes according to plan, toting the rock normally, a lot of carries a game and putting actual game film on, how big is that compared to, even though you're in the NFL and on a practice squad, getting those like in-game reps that people can see?
I think they're huge. When you talk about being on the practice squad, and I know from just being in practice in general, there's a lot of times where you're splitting reps, and you don't really get a lot of chances to really showcase what you can do, just because there's probably about 4 or 5 backs, and there's those 2 backs that, are more than likely going to play or start that game or however it might be, depending on the roles. So just being able to go to the XFL and, you're putting film out there, you're putting, gameplay out there. And, I think it's the XFL is going to help a lot of players tremendously. Get those guys who were kind of in the bag, kind of didn't get the opportunity to showcase what they were really made of in the training camp.
Abram, Baylor has, since the last time we talked, they had won 3 in a row, and then they got smoked pretty badly by Kansas State. The running game still seems to be the strength of the offense. If Squirrel Williams has had a breakout game, and obviously Richard Reese is very, very effective. What have you seen? It seems like it's kind of like you don't really know who they are. Last year we knew the identity of the team, and it just kind of seemed like there's something missing besides the fact you, JT, Terrell, Raleigh, Jalen, and among others are gone.
I think you just said it right there. A lot of the leaders are out of the door, and you kind of have to find I guess you could say the big dogs in the building, and I think that's what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to, like you said, find their identity, and every time when they got the chance, they can click and they can get moving, just like you said, and I think that's all they need to do, because once they all start clicking and start getting in motion, I mean, they're hard to stop.
Abram, you can't just walk into a room and say, I'm the leader. Right. You have to earn it. And when you have guys that went through all that you guys went through, none of you ever had to say, I'm in charge here. It was just kind of understood. When you have all that leave, you can't just have somebody like, I guess it's on me. They have to prove it. How long does it take normally? Is there like a number you can put on it to kind of prove it? Or is it just one day people kind of start looking to you?
I guess you can really just say there's no set days, there's no set number on, when somebody's gonna look up to you, because it can be a week of practice and everybody's like, okay, I want to, they start venturing over and starting leading towards somebody else, and so like I said, there's no set days, no set numbers. I mean, one day it might be it might be Dylan one day, or it might be somebody the next day, or it might be them two together, but there's no set days on who's going to be the leaders, or who's going to be what on the team.
Abram, you mentioned that when I mentioned the names, including you among others, that those were some alphas. You guys have been around a long time, been through a lot. You yourself, just because of the battle of injuries, the change in the positions. Jalen had been there what seemed like forever. Can you try to explain that gristle, that toughness, that edge you developed along with your other guys, not just the ones who were in the pro football, league or in the league you're about to join? Can you try to explain how hard it is to get there, to get that grit you guys had last year?
I mean, we went from, I think it was really that 1-11 season, you kind of bouncing back and, there's nobody but us. So we grinded it out together. We used to call it OU, one of us. And that's kind of what we based a lot of our brotherhood on, or our friendship on, is just that we knew when it came down to it, it was just us. That's all we had. That's all we needed. And I think that's how we just shaped into that tough team, that tough alpha dog team that everybody saw last year.
Abram, one of the other draft picks, and we'd be remiss to ask you this, was KD Cannon, a former Baylor wide receiver. Do you know KD? Have you ever met him at all, or would this be the first time when you guys intersect in D.C.?
This would be the first time, but I've seen him play. I know of him, and I know he's really good.
He can boogie now. He can go. He can run.
It's been a while for him.
Yeah.
2016 was his last year, so it's been 6 years, and I know he had a couple of opportunities in the NFL, but his strength was his athleticism and speed, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. But, again, you're just talking about being seen, having extra reps and spots and time on film. Did you guys have any kind of a group text among players who also were drafted other than yourself and anyone else?
There was no group text or anything like that. I mean, it was just like, if you're talking about just the draft, then it was just a straight phone call. But other than that, there was no group chat, no group text.
So you're happy, aren't you? I could tell when I traded a couple of texts with you earlier today, and just hearing your voice, it's kind of a relief for you.
Yeah, man, I'm excited just to get back to doing what I love to do. It's different whenever you're going to work out, and you get told no pretty much. You get told like, hey, we need you. You're on the ready list or whatever it might be. And now, I got a set team, and I'm about to go back to playing ball rather than just doing workouts. I go back to actually, toting the pill and doing what I do best.
So what's the schedule between now and when things start to get rolling? What is the schedule with you and DC?
Right now, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to continue to work out and, stay in shape and getting more, I would say better shape than I am now. That's even honestly possible. But with DC, I'm hoping to get a playbook from them here soon. I'm going to ask about it so that way I can get a head start and, try to get a jump on everybody pretty much.
Abram, if you don't mind, I know you got to go, and you just got off of work, so you're trying to get home and just kind of chill and decompress. Matt Rule's out there. He was with Carolina, and of course, Coach Rule as well as anybody, but he's now not in the NFL, and he got a lot of money when he was asked to leave and got fired. What would you say if a team contacted you about Coach Rule being a college football coach? What would you tell them?
I thought he was a great football coach overall. I think he's a great football coach overall, to be honest. So if I was to say anything about him, that'd be a great choice for whatever program team that wants him.
The process, right? The process. Trust the process. And at 1-11, it was hard to trust the process. And in the end, it made you guys who you were, in fact, eventually at 12-2 last year. Great to have you on the show. Proud for you, Abram. Thanks for your time. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Abram Smith, number 1 overall pick of the XFL. Got a chance to talk to The Rock. That's got to be pretty cool. Yeah.
I would love to hear Craig talk to The Rock just about wrestling. Not even mention any movie he's ever been in, just to talk about wrestling. Oh, yeah, Craig would be fantastic at it.
And we've had some of you on the chat room have asked, and it would, I think, be an incredibly popular podcast. Is he hosted a wrestling podcast? The problem is things have changed a little bit. The different entities and kind of it's come and gone. He's not as engaged as he used to be. He knows what's going on, though.
The history of it, though, being able to, we were, and Laurinaitis, his first name escapes me because I'm not the wrestling guy, but he was at the Super Bowl in Minneapolis. And Craig and Q were back here doing the show, and whoever's booking him said, hey, do you have somebody you would want to talk to him as wrestler? I said, yes. Can he be on it this time? I said, absolutely. And Craig interviewed him for like 20 minutes or so. He got up and said, who is that guy? who interviewed me. I said, well, that's Craig. He's back home. He's a huge wrestler. He's like, yo. And his words were, no, he is. And I said, he told me, he said, that was the best interview I've done here all day. He hadn't gone to see Stu from Austin yet.
Yeah, who's a big-time fan. Yeah.
Who also said, yeah, you're going. He knew him anyway. But he said, it's the best one I've done all day. It's the first one that hasn't asked me to do a catchphrase or like pretend like I'm wrestling again.
Right.
It was like actual facts about that. I'm telling you, if Craig got one going, it would be the most, even if you weren't a wrestling fan, the most compelling podcast about that. Because he has such good insight on wrestling and everything that goes on there. And such, I mean,
it's just natural.
He's passionate about it, but he's not like, it's real to me.
Yeah.
kind of guy.
He knows all the personalities, knows their names.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever said this story, and I probably have 5 times, but my youngest brother, Philip, went to school with Shawn Michaels.
Oh, in San Antonio.
At Randolph High School in Universal City on the Air Force Base. Shawn Michaels was a friend of his and went to school with him, which is pretty cool. And so, and of course, my brother was a sumo wrestler, and that's another story. Yeah. He was. I mean, there's actually an article or so written about him back when he went out of high school. So, okay, that's enough of that. Thank you to a lot of you in the chat room. We're not done. Coming up around the corner, probably as good a leader. And it would be hard to say if anyone's better. That doesn't mean there's a lot of guys that aren't like the leaders. And we talked to Abram Smith, and it was interesting to say that, of what he was saying, all the kind of like rings around a tree, the age of the players last year on that 12-2 team compared to this year. And Frank Harris, quarterback at UTSA, he's been around quite a long time. Now, there's one thing about Frank Harris. He still has a year of eligibility left. And I'm going to try to be UTSA's recruiting coordinator. I am.
They've got a pretty good one.
They've got a good one. Yeah. They've got a lot of them, but I'm going to see if we can work on that and try to have some breaking news with Frank Harris, who, of course, is up for a lot of the awards, and he should be. This is 365 Sports.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgin Ford.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Howdy,
Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
Looking for a great job with great pay and awesome benefits? Genco FCU is hiring. As a longtime Waco employer, Genco focuses on what matters most in our employees' lives, like pay incentives, bonuses, benefits, 401k plans, paid time off, advancement opportunities, medical, prescription, dental, and vision insurance, as well as short and long-term disability. Come join our incredible team today and make Genco your career that will work for you. Apply at gencofcu.org or at any branch location.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
UTSA, 6-0 in the Conference USA, 8-2 overall. And it looks like there's a chance that North Texas and UTSA, a rematch. Western Kentucky's a part of that mix as well, even Florida Atlantic, as they wrap up the regular season for down the road for a conference championship game. And the guy who is the straw that stirs the drink, he didn't say that, I'm saying that. Most everybody says that. UTSA quarterback Frank Harris joins us on 365 Sports. You like that?
I definitely appreciate it, but it's definitely not me. It's definitely everybody else, but I appreciate the introduction.
Well, I think you've earned it. I don't throw that out lightly. I'm going to read a quote I got from a guy you know. His name is Jeff Traylor, who I've known for a long time. I asked him, I said, can you try to explain to me, Frank Harris, the football player and then just the role model? Not a better human or quarterback in the country. You would want him to be your son, to marry your daughter. Not enough great words to say about Frank Harris.
Dang, that means a lot. I don't even know what to say. I'm actually kind of speechless. Definitely appreciate him. Great mentor, a great coach. And like I said, he mentors a lot of people as myself. And there's no better head coach out there, especially at college level. Nowadays, the way he treats us and the way he is towards us means a lot for me and everybody else on the team.
Frank, it seems to me, and we have him on the show all the time, that he can really ride the wave well between when he needs to be the intense football coach and when he can just relax and have a good time with you guys.
Oh, for sure. He always tells us his yes is yes and his no is no. His no is his no. He always tells us never take his kindness for weakness. And it's just whatever he says goes. And if you try to take advantage of him, that's when you're going to see him, put his foot down and let everybody know that he is the head coach. But he really rarely ever does that. Everybody respects him, and it's easy to play for a guy like that. He respects us as well. He lets us play freely, and it's just a even keel guy all the time. Never really too high, never really too low.
When he took over, you had been there a year. When he took over at UTSA, what was the initial reaction to him?
Honestly, I've been there before he got there. It's my sixth season, so I was there way before he got there. But when everything happened, I talked to Dr. Campos about it. Our athletic director, and she was like, "Y'all are gonna love him." And I didn't really know anything about him, so I started hitting up guys, from Arkansas, and they all had nothing but great things to say about him. Him and everybody else from the staff, they all came from Arkansas. So I wanted to see what type of person he was. So I went to his press conference when he first got down here, and everything he said, I wanted to see if it was true. And surely it was. He was a man of his word. I try to keep everybody together. I was just trying to give him benefit of the doubt. All my other teammates were like, man, he must know this dude. I don't know why you got his back so much. I'm like, I don't know nothing about the guy. We're going to see what type of person he is. And sure enough, everybody loves him. And he is a man of his word, like he said, his first press conference. and we're just blessed to have him as our coach for the next 10 years.
What does the city of San Antonio mean to you after 6 years and the way that they have really adopted, whether you're an alum or not, UTSA as their team?
It just means a lot. You know, all my family grew up here. Both my parents, their family as well. So I was born here my whole life. It just means a lot just to see the program keep growing, the success we've been having. You know, I was on a team when we knew we were going winning 4 games, winning 3 games, not getting a lot of support from the city, which, I mean, is right. We're not winning any games. To now, you know, when it comes to last season, to having a great season thus far this year and having a whole city, having the support and love from the city just means a lot for us and UTSA as a university.
Did you ever think you would play in a game in which that Alamo Dome, that stadium, would be packed to the gills?
It's crazy because in high school we had a playoff game there against our rival team, Steel, which my running back Brendan Brady played for, and it's pretty packed. But like I said, you know, going to UTSA, we was having losing seasons, and we actually had more people like at the high school game than we did, you know, in college, and it was just kind of like mind-boggling to see that. But you know, now see that thing packed, the energy the crowd brings and how loud it is crazy atmosphere, like nothing you can't explain. You actually got to be there to feel it, but we definitely appreciate everybody that comes out and supports us.
This may mean nothing to you, but it does mean something to me. You played at Clemens High School. You mentioned Cibolo Steel. I went to Randolph, by the way.
Okay, so I actually grew up in Converse. I was supposed to go to Judson, but I ain't gonna move it, so I know exactly where Randolph is.
Yeah, it's right there. That football stadium's right. Of course, I think things have changed a little bit, but yeah, it's right there. I used to always loved what Clemens did, and Judson wasn't as good. That's how old I am. They weren't as good back then. They were just starting to be good. When the game is on the line, I don't know if anyone wants the ball in the hands more than that they want it in your hands. Is that also what you want, and how long has that been in your DNA?
Man, for sure. I definitely want the ball last. I want the ball, you know, in crunch times. I don't know what it is about those times, but I love those moments. I just feel like that makes me play better, you know, when my back is against the wall. And I feel like I've been like that since I was a little kid. My dad has always told me that. You know, he coached me in Little League, and even when those moments came at that age, you know, he wanted the ball in my hands. And for some reason, I just always rose to the occasion. And even now, even in basketball, I just love having the ball in my hands, you know, in those situations. And I'm just blessed that, you know, the coaches feel the same way, and they give me that opportunity to have the ball in my hands when those times come.
Do you like playing overtime games? Because you guys, early in the season, we know you did. You just played another one a couple weeks ago, but you guys seem to really take that in stride. And you know, for a while I thought, especially given the last couple of years, that you might not realize that you can win it in the fourth quarter before you have to play extra.
I don't know. A lot of people ask me that, and I just say, personally, I don't like going to overtime, but I mean, I'd rather go to overtime, you know, than lose the game. So, I mean, that's what we had to keep doing, you know, to come out with wins. I'm all for it. But Coach always tells us, you know, a champion has the ability to play one play longer than its opponent. So, something he harps on all the time. So, we go in overtime. That's something we keep reminding ourselves and just keep telling ourselves when those times come.
How clutch, and what was it like? Again, you had the game with Houston. That was nuts, right? That was the one that went on and on and on.
No.
But then there was the game against North Texas. You threw a game-winning touchdown with 15 seconds left. They had gotten you last year at the end of the year. What can you try to just explain what are you even thinking really, or is it just instinctive at that moment?
Coach, like, I know I keep saying what Coach says, well, he's always telling us things. He always tells us, you know, you don't rise to the occasion, you seek your level of training. So we always practice those scenarios every Thursday, 2-minute drills, whether it's no timeouts, whether we're up, whether we're down. And we just go through those scenarios. So when the game comes, you know how to react. So once we got the ball back with a minute, something left, I knew we were going to be fine. I knew some way, somehow, the receivers were going to make a big play. Sure enough, it was my tight end, Oscar, and then JT made a crazy play. So I give credit to all those guys. Even the protection up front was very good. So I just think just go back to the preparation that we have in practice, going over these scenarios. So when the game comes and we're presented at these, you know, scenarios, we know how to handle them.
So you have, so you mentioned this before you came on. You have one more year. Do you have another year?
No. That's we're not supposed to. Yeah, we are going to bring this up. We are now, Frank. We have been asked to be the UTSA recruiting coordinators, and we're just kind of you have another year, right?
I do have another year.
Okay, so let me tell you from my perspective. Once college is over, it's over, Frank. And so, it's a great time. And once you're out of college, you're going to spend, 20% of every day thinking about it.
It becomes reality, Frank.
Yeah,
it becomes reality. I mean,
so
I've been here. This is my 6th season already. So next season will be my 7th season playing football in college. So, I got a lot of mixed emotions about it. So I really don't know. I tell Coach Traylor, I'll let him know. But I've been praying about it, talking to my family about it, and I just don't know what's best for me just yet. I keep telling them I want to enjoy the moment now with my teammates and just see how the season plays out.
Yeah, he could be a lawyer by the end of next year if he.
You know what? Honestly, whatever you do, we will absolutely be thrilled. We're happy to have you on our show. College football fans from all over the place are watching us every day. We appreciate that, and one of the reasons is getting guys like you on the show, Coach Traylor on the show. So whatever you do, we wish you the very, very best at it. Has there been a time? Be honest about this, because there used to be a red shirt. There's medical red shirts. Then there was the COVID year. Has there been a time in the last year or two where you didn't even know what eligibility you had left?
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know what year, what I'm using right now, if I'm being 100% honest. But I do know I have eligibility. That's all that matters. I go talk to compliance, and it was funny because at the beginning of this year, I told Coach Traylor I had another year. I guess he thought I was joking around, so I guess he went to go talk to compliance about something, and I think I got brought up. And compliance actually told him, yeah, Frank does have another year of eligibility. And it kind of blew his mind. So he calls me on the phone and was like, Frank, do you have another year? I said, Coach, I told you that. I mean, I thought you were joking around. Compliance said you did. What are you going to do? I said, Coach, I don't even know what's going to happen this year. We got to get through this season first. So it's just crazy when people come telling me, bro, how do you have another year? How are you doing it? But it's because of the red shirt, the medical red shirt, and COVID.
Yep.
So that's 3 years you get back right there. So this is technically only my 3rd season actually playing, because those first 3 seasons I only played in 3 games the 3rd year, but then I got hurt again. So that's only my 3rd actual season playing. So if I did come back, it would technically be, it sounds 7 years, but it would be like my senior year playing.
Yeah, I don't even know what they would call that anymore, what they do. We've seen 6-year seniors. That's been the case before. Baylor had a couple of those, I think, last year on that team that went to the Sugar Bowl and won the Big 12 title. So you have Rice, and they're not bad. They've been kind of gritty this year, huh?
For sure. They beat UAB. They played U of H really well. They just keep battling each and every week. So we're definitely going to get their best. It's going to be a great test for us. And they do a lot of things on defense. So I just got to trust my training. It's going to be windy, raining, cold. We can't let that affect us. We got to go out there and just play football. So it's going to be a great test for us.
Is it going to be in their big stadium?
Yes, sir. I guess it's new, so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Now, I got to ask you this as well. You've been a close couple of, you've had some close losses, but you've also had a bunch of close wins. Could you have won the games you won this year, the tight games this year, had you not experienced success last year?
Personally, I think these losses that we've had early in the season versus U of H and UT, I think prepared us for what's coming, later in this year and the wins that we were having. So I just think battling adversity earlier, this year prepared us for everything that we're facing now, because, last season we were undefeated until we played North Texas. And I just think we were a little bit, I'm not going to say okay with everything, but I think we were just a little content where we were. And we went out that North Texas game and got embarrassed. And then, ended up losing the bowl game as well. So I just think losing these 2 games earlier this year put a very humbling taste in our mouth to where we don't want to feel it again, and learn from those mistakes that we had against those teams to try to finish the season off stronger than we did last year.
It is probably, well, it's not going to happen unless you get like 8 or 9 years of eligibility, but it's probably not going to happen that when the college football playoff expands, maybe 24, but at some point in the next 2 to 3 years, as someone who's played in what is known as Group of Five, and that's sometimes a dirty word, or not a part of the Power Five conferences, give us an argument. Tell us what that will mean to conferences like whatever, and I know UTSA, things are moving again. What will it mean to know when you start the year there's truly a legitimate chance for a non-Power 5 school to get to the playoff?
Yeah, that'll just mean a lot, especially for the program where it came from to where we are now. I think it's only 11th season that we're in right now, so we're just going to keep growing and keep getting bigger, and it just means a lot for the city of San Antonio. You know, San Antonio has a lot of pride and tradition in their sports teams. So we definitely have a lot of support from the city, and learning those things is going to just keep bringing more and more people to attract them to come to our game, and it definitely means a lot for us as well.
Well, you're an amazing story, what UTSA did last year, what Jeff Traylor's done in his, now almost 3 years. Great friend of mine from many years back, great friend of our show as well. Were your mom or dad, were they military?
Both my parents are detectives. So my dad literally just retired earlier this week.
Did he
and
really?
Then my mom is, he just retired. And then my mom is still, she's eligible to retire too, but she hasn't retired yet. So my dad works for the district attorney's office for Bear County, the county out here. My mom works for the attorney general's office for the state of Texas.
So they're detectives. So when you were younger.
Oh, you got to ask this question.
When you were younger and you did something that they didn't see, could you cover it up, or were you just like, no, I did it. You got me?
No, see, my parents always told us, you better not lie, because if I find out you lying, we're going to get whooped for lying and then whooped for what we did. So that was something they stressed on us. So we did not lie. We just going to just get whooped the first time and just take one whooping instead of two of them. So we ain't lie.
Hey, detectives know how to ask questions.
No, that's right.
A lot better than little kids know how to answer them.
And they set you up asking. They set you up asking those questions.
Exactly. They'll ask you a question, but my mom, she got that stern look in her eyes. You better not lie to me. So it's like, you know what? I'm not even going to try this one, Mom. I'm just going to tell you the truth. You go ahead and get my butt whooping.
I told you this, and we'll close it out with this, and it's been great to have you, Frank, and love what you've done, and hopefully we'll see you at some of the awards things going on here pretty soon as well. I knew Jeff Traylor when he was a first-year head coach at Gilmer, which is where he came from, and then he got into college. Ask him about Smoky.com. That's the high school website I own, and he used to not allow his players to get on my website. He blocked my website on the high school campus. Ask him about that story.
That's funny. I'm going to have to ask him for sure. I'm going to ask him right when we get off the phone.
Okay, buddy. Thanks, Frank. Thank you so much for helping us. That's great. What a great kid. Great young man. Frank Karras, 6th year. And King gets 7. He still has the decision to make. Whatever he does, I wish him absolutely the best. You know, if you're Jeff Traylor, you've got it recruiting. It's going well. You'd love to have him back another year. But he has been spectacular through 2 or 3 late game touchdowns, overtime touchdowns. And what a story with the Roadrunners in San Antonio.
God, I could not imagine. Detectives. Look, my parents were pretty shrewd, but they're not detective shrewd.
No. They ask you questions, setting you up to catch you.
Oh, so this jar just broke itself. No. The cat did it. Oh, the cat. Where's the cat? Well, it's outside now.
Yeah, where was the cat? Well, the cat hasn't been, it's an outside cat. It never gets, that's exactly right.
I mean, my dad was in the CIA during the Reagan administration. And so I kind of feel this kid's pain.
Oh, my God. You had no chance. None.
No.
Rice and UT San Antonio, UTSA. I got mad. Somebody got mad at me one time. UTSA, that beautiful new stadium they now have, Arena Stadium, Rice football, and that game's at noon on Saturday. UTSA right now leading the way in Conference USA. And North Texas, our good friend Seth Luttrell, Phil Bennett, Jim Gush, Randy Clements, and all of them. They got beat by UTSA earlier this year, but that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. UTSA, the Roadrunners, 8-2 overall. Losses to Houston by 2 and Texas 41-20. And this is 365 Sports.
This month, Allen Samuelson Waco is having the Black Friday sales event. You can save big on the new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab with total values up to $4,250 with 2.9% for 72 months. That's right, plus an extra $500 bonus cash to first responders and no payments until January 2023. Shop an award-winning dealership with award-winning product. Allen Samuelson Waco, the place to shop Ram trucks.
Come by. Let's be friends.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 unemployed sought-after coaches. We're in the coaching cycle now. There are guys that are on the beach, and I believe they will be sought after. Whether they take a job or not, I do believe all these guys will get contacted and some take interviews. One of them may or may not. I don't know. But I do think that people are going to go after him. Number 5, done a really good job on TV this year, Dan Mullen. Florida was not the job for him. It was not the right time for him at Florida. They had some success. His offensive prowess is very, very good. But going against Kirby Smart directly at this time when he's just not in the recruiting like Kirby Smart was, and that was evident, but he can still recruit to a certain level at a certain place, and there's a job out there that fits Dan Mullen. The thing that would concern me is he's really good on TV. He was good, but he surprised me. Yeah, he's good on TV, and that job sometimes when it takes hold of you, do you really want to go back and recruit? I mean, coaching, I think they all like to coach. I think if you really go back, and the reason he's not coaching right now is because of the recruiting side of it, do you really want to go back and do all that again, especially now where it's gotten even more complicated? But Dan Mullen, people should, and they will call Dan Mullen to see if he's available.
I don't know the list. I have an idea of who might be on the list. I would say 2 or 3 of the names on the list will have to decide whether they want to go recruit 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And now 19 and 20 and 21 and the transfer portal.
Exactly, all that. Number 4, Bronco Mendenhall. It's taken some time away from coaching and the last couple years, and there's reports out there that he would be interested in getting back in. This is a guy who had success at BYU, was pretty good at Virginia. I mean, nothing, they didn't win the ACC or anything like that, but, he was good there and successful, experience, maybe wants to get back in again. I think you could do a lot worse than calling Bronco Mendenhall, especially if you're a school like Georgia Tech or Colorado that wants somebody who's experienced and can help you maybe program build a little bit.
Do you think there's a region that he's coached on the East Coast? He's coached Mountain Time.
Yeah.
Is there a region that he might feel more comfortable, like we might see with
like Brian
Harsin,
the next guy on the list.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So but we'll get to. But Bronco Mendenhall, I don't know. I just think that if it's the right job, and this guy could want to build a program, I don't think it has to be a Power 5 job necessarily, but I think it probably would have to be a good one. But if you were, Colorado, if you're Arizona State, and Arizona State interests me in a couple of different ways, in that their AD, he was an agent, so I would think he's going to lean towards names. Because that's what agents do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
How old is he?
Bronco Mendenhall, I think he's 60.
Okay.
So maybe younger than that, I'm not sure. Number 3, Brian Harsin. This is a guy who will be coaching next year, if for nothing else, for spite.
Yeah. No, and he's really kind of, isn't it this the prime of his career?
I think so. And Auburn was a bad fit. It didn't work out. But again, he's had a lot of success. Colorado, Arizona State make a ton of sense for him because he did so well recruiting out there in the West. And given the fact that the Pac-12 is ever changing right now, he might be able to kind of swoop in at the right time at one of those schools and get them set up for success in the future, because he did recruit the West Coast really, really well at Boise State. And, if he recruited that well at Boise State, what can he do with a better chance at playing in the playoff if you are legitimately good?
Jacob, would you do me a favor and ask Garrett if he's got any news on Blackwell at Baylor? Because they were having a media session. I know that's what, Paul, I'm sorry. That's before we go off the air. Go ahead.
Number 2, Tom Herman. I think several jobs out there fit Tom Herman. I think that I would take him out of the Nebraska equation. Not because I don't think he wouldn't do okay there, but I do think that the pressure at Texas and the way he is he's a very high-strung guy, but he's a very intelligent guy. I just think that he doesn't want that again. But a place like Arizona State, a place like Georgia, I think a place like Georgia Tech, actually, he could really do well there. I mean, there's a lot of places he could do well, and I do think people should call Tom Herman about their open coaching jobs. I think it'd be crazy for a couple of them at least not to. It's been 2 years.
It seems like it's been longer than that.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since he's been a head coach, and maybe he doesn't want. I would think that I'd want to get back in with Tom Herman. I think that there's untapped potential there. And look, I was very critical of him when he was at Texas because of things that he was doing. For example, Sam Kahn mentioned earlier about Sark not giving the ball to Bijan.
Yep.
Tom Herman also didn't do that. He ran the running game through the quarterback way too much. But, you live, you learn. And you think a guy as smart as Tom Herman would make that adjustment, especially the most successful season he's ever had as a coach ever was as the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. And who did he have then?
Yeah.
Zeke.
Yeah.
So that's why he got the job at Houston.
Yeah.
Right there. And number 1, our good friend Matt Rule. And I'm sure his phone rings as much as possible, especially given that some of the jobs that are open are so high profile, like Auburn, like Nebraska. But, one of the reasons that Matt wanted to go to the NFL was he wanted not recruit. I don't think he disliked it, but I do think that he wanted to take that step.
That was always a dream of his, and
Yeah.
I'm never going to poo-poo on anybody that wants to fulfill a dream like what somebody told you to do earlier. What was it?
Be a sandwich consultant?
Be a sandwich consultant?
Yeah.
I'm never going to do that. If that's your dream, go find it. If you get it, if you make it, that's great. If you don't, at least you know you tried. There's probably, I'm 63 years old, there's probably maybe a couple of different times in my life I would have done something maybe a little bit differently as far as, wish I would have written a book. Back in the days when I was in the meat of high school football in great parts of East Texas, wish I would have written a book. Now it's too late. I could write one in my mind, but I just don't have the time. And I didn't write everything down. All right, Paul. Matt Rule. Yeah, and I do think that's probably when he's at Baylor, he hired and had a great staff around him. Not only seasoned coordinators or position coaches, but then got the young dudes, alphas, players, Sean Bell, David Wetzel, who's never really a part of the real coaching staff, but was major part of recruiting. He had guys on the support staff, Evan Cooper.
And I think I've always thought that of the open jobs, Nebraska is the best fit culture-wise for him. But again, that's a huge undertaking at Nebraska because the expectations there are not just get them back to winning. It's give us the meal we used to eat every year, as opposed to spam and macaroni and cheese that you're getting now. They were having bone and ribeye every night. Yeah, the fans were there. So it's one of those things that can you do that? And he's a builder. That's what he does at the college level. And I do think that he was a quarterback away from seeing that turn in Carolina, but the hardest thing to find in the NFL is a quarterback.
Yeah, if he has anybody that's at least someone who could manage the game, even if it was like Ryan Tannehill or someone like that, right, he would still be in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the rest of their roster, and believe me, the rest of the roster was good enough for where after he got fired, the whole NFL was calling to see who was available.
Yeah.
So it's not like they didn't build a roster that outside of quarterback people would maybe be able to win with, but their quarterback decisions, every single one of them missed. And, I think that he can obviously nail that down at Nebraska and Arizona State or who's ever open, or sit out and wait a year, do TV, because he'd be really fun on TV, and then wait for another job to come up.
Yeah, I wish him the best. I would be lying if I haven't. I've traded some text messages with him. He hasn't really given me much other than we have discussed a few games and maybe a couple of former Baylor players or whatever.
I can tell you if Florida State was open this year, and I'm really loving the Norvell hire now. I think everything's going well. But if Florida State was open and Matt Rule wasn't the first choice, I'd be furious because if it was open, that's exactly what they would need.
Yeah, no.
When it was open and he went to Carolina,
and I've had people text me, even direct messages, what about Rule in Nebraska? You're asking the wrong guy because that's almost an emotion thing for me twice. With a program I love that is just a shell of itself, and a coach that, I was very fortunate to have the kind of time and relationship with him when he was the head coach at Baylor, and even since then. Darby Brown from KWTX, or Garrett Ross, is also at the women's basketball media session. Nikki Cowan, this doesn't seem to be good news. Baylor women's basketball coach Nikki Cowan on Asia Blackwell, who's their leading scorer and a transfer, who's a fantastic talent. Everyone saw it was a lower leg injury. She hasn't signed off on sharing medical information, so that's all I can really say. That sounds sobering to me. That she hasn't signed off on that. I don't know if that's, I'm saying that means it's bad, but it doesn't seem like it's good. All right, Jacob Wilson, thank you for playing the closer today. And do that a lot with other shows and podcasts that we do. Also, Garrett Ross, Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter, Levi Caraway, and also Jack McKenzie. Did I say Jack already? Oh, Garrett Ross, I guess, is who I hadn't mentioned. For Paul Catalina, we hope Craig's back tomorrow feeling better today than he was yesterday. Tomorrow, we're going to have UMHB Division III football coach Larry Harmon on the show in his first year. Also, Grayson, Taylor McCarg, and much more. For Paul Catalina, again, I'm David Smoak. Our sponsors, thank you very much. Good night 365 Sports. Sports tonight at 10:30 on the CW channel.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.